the final round of the ABRUZZI V8 Sprint Series. Qualifying has just taken place, and we are now just about to kick off a very special part of any supercar race at Bathurst worth its salt, and that is the top 10 shootout. We've got the fastest 10 drivers from qualifying, and they're going to be running around one at a time, one shot, to set their fastest possible lap and get themselves the best possible position on the grid. So here with me for all the action, as always, Matt Andrews. Matt, we've got Simon Chadwick out there on track at the moment. What are we expecting from him?
Well, a guy that has been up the top pointy end of our grid in the last couple of races, about to start his flying lap. So I'm expecting, I mean, he's scraped into the top 10, he's 10th. I would expect we see Simon end up a bit higher up the grid than what he is now as he starts his lap. But yeah, as you said, top 10 shootout, synonymous with Bath. This is the big event, the last round of the series. This is one of them, that first corner there where your whole lap can get undone. Hell corner. One error there, and the easily 3, 4, 5 tenths down on your best lap. Looked like he struggled a little bit through their end as he heads up towards Griffin's in turn 2, but a bit wide as well, out into the marbles. Just sloppy. This is sloppy from Simon.
He's been one of the form drivers so far, hasn't he, in this series? And he certainly, I was surprised to see him as far down as he just snatches a break going up there through the cutting. But he doesn't seem overly comfortable on the lap so far. He's, you know, he did spend a lot of time warming his tyres on his first lap around, and now he's had to put it all on the line. But perhaps the tyres not quite in that window for him for whatever reason. But it looks as though he's been pretty good from here. He's, you know, hit the line quite well, hit the braking point well, just nicking the apex there on the left, down through the dipper. All of this is looking quite tidy, but I think that start to the lap might actually hurt him.
And a bit taily coming out of the dipper there as well, so all sorts of things going on with this car at Simon for the moment. But yeah, you might be right, the tyres might not be at their optimal, but he'll still go around. There's probably going to be a few drivers who get some off tracks and things, so you never know, he could go up the order a bit as well. Should like to mention too, this week is a retro round. Simon sporting the FPV style Caterpillar Falcon of the day in the Team Dribble livery there, looking nice and smart this week. So those of you watching fairly regularly, you notice a lot of the liveries are very different. We'll try and give you a bit of a snapshot of each livery and each driver, so that tomorrow night, sorry, I should say tonight, because we are watching it today, you'll get an idea of the cars. Simon crosses the line with a 2:05.2. It's actually not too bad, considering the pole position time leading into this was a 4:2.
No, not too bad at all. I'm quite surprised by that, but we'll see anyway. That we'll see what he thought of that lap. We'll just drag him up for a little bit of a chat while we've got Darren Caldwell out there getting himself set up to start his flyer. Simon Chadwick.
Hey guys,
broadcasting here, mate. What did you think of that lap? How'd it go?
Mate, I made it. I got the lap in, so that was the main goal. To be honest, it isn't a strong one for me, but look, I made the top 10, so that was one of the goals down. I just got to finish the 200k race now.
Yeah, fantastic. Looked a little bit lurid there, mate, but yeah, as you say, you got to the end, no off tracks, so lap time in the books. Now you get to sit back and watch everyone else. Well done.
That's it. Thanks, guys.
All right, so that was Simon Chadwick, one out there, and now we've got Darren Caldwell coming around, just about to start his flying lap.
Yeah, Darren entering the last corner now as he makes his way into the main straight. Important to get a good run out of there as well, which he does, heading down into Hell Corner. A guy that's been fairly consistent in this series. It's good to see him in the top 10, starting from 9th. Gets quite a good run there. A couple of drivers struggling. I think getting those tyres up to temp on the warm-up lap is going to be ultra important as he heads up Mountain Straight.
Yeah, he got a very nice turn in there, looked very, very nice and smooth. So, yeah, I think he got out of there reasonably quickly. And very nice line up through Griffin's as well. And now heading up to the cutting, very tricky to get the car kind of straightened up under brakes and then rotated in properly. Probably could have maybe wanted to get out a little bit further towards the wall on both the entry and the exit there, but in the main, certainly nothing that's going to invalidate the lap, which of course is job one.
And one of those cars as well where, you know, we saw Simon really look like he was letting the rear end step out. Looked like he was driving the wheels off the car. Lap time wasn't too bad. Darren looking a lot smoother, but it's one of those cars, sometimes you've got to drive the absolute wheels off the things to get the lap time. So be interesting to see how Darren goes as we near the back end of this lap, coming down now to Forest Elbow. Tricky braking area here. The rear end just wants to step out on approach. He does it quite nicely. Really good exit. Tidy lap so far from Darren.
Yeah, there are a couple of times just up there through sort of Reed and McPhillamy where I almost expected to see him using a little bit more of the road. He might have wanted to get a little bit close to those walls, but at the same time, we'll see what kind of lap time it produces, because it's been a very tidy lap with no obvious missteps or anything like that. So hard on the brakes here, probably the hardest braking point on the entire circuit actually. Gets it rotated nicely into the first part of the chase, pops out the other side, and now he's only got one more brake application to do. Then just feed in the throttle really nice and just get it there across the line and see what he's able to produce time-wise.
2 purple sectors there. This could be the fastest. Oh, he's just by a tenth.
Just.
It looked like it was just a bit of a slower last sector there for Darren, but puts it on provisional pole for now. Really good job.
All right. We'll just quickly grab a chat with Darren Caldwell. Darren, how did that go from your perspective?
Yeah, not too bad. Could have squeezed a bit more out of it, but I'm pretty happy with it.
Yeah, it looked like a smooth lap. No particular errors or anything like that, but maybe a little bit conservative over the top.
Yeah, just a little bit. Could have pushed a bit harder, but didn't want to hit the wall, so...
Yeah, definitely. All right, thank you, Darren Caldwell. Best of luck with the rest of the session. And
Cheers,
we've got
guys.
Lassith Leonage out here at the moment, just about to start his first flying lap. He's got to the hard braking point down there at Hell Corner, got it rotated nicely, just nipping the exit curb there and off up Mountain Straight.
Affectionately known as Laz, we've found over the last few weeks, a fast improver in the series. The start of the series, I think he was in the second split, and now finding himself not only in the top split but also fighting for podium. So as we watch him head into turn 2, really nice inside running of turn 2, coming into the cutting. Beautiful HRT inspired livery here with the Goodyear logo on it, hence the blue coloration. So really lovely retro livery here as Laz heads up the mountain.
Yeah, he's a very, very hard worker, this guy. He's really done his absolute, but left no stone unturned really to improve his own performances and get right up there. And we see him using a little bit more of the track across the top than perhaps Caldwell did before him. Just now, basically just got to dance on those pedals to get everything, all the downshifts and everything done. Throttle blips, everything you have to do to get it down through the dipper. Looked really nice. The weight shifting looked really nice. So I think that this may actually eclipse the 2 laps that have been set so far.
Purple sector by Laz as he exits the elbow down Conrod Straight. Beautiful exit out of there. So important to get that lovely exit out onto this Conrod Straight. Cars pushing upwards of 290 clicks down here. A lot of these guys who have qualifying setups built just for this lap. We've had a top 10 shootout previously in the series. A lot of drivers were found out under pressure of having all eyes on them. All the drivers doing beautifully so well so far. Oh, a bit loose there. Laz as he exits out towards the last corner. That rear end stepping out shouldn't have cost him too much time, you don't think. Heads into the final corner. We'll see where Laz comes out. 2:05.1 is the time to beat. He crosses the line at a 2:05.8. It has cost him.
Yeah, that cost him, didn't it? Let's drag him up for a chat. Okay, Laz Leonage, Simshed Broadcasting. You got a copy? Yeah, okay. So it doesn't seem as though we've got him on the.
He's not happy, Ed. He's not happy.
Got him on the blower at the minute, so we'll let Laz go. He's dropped a couple of positions. He probably won't be happy with that, but either way, we've got Brodie Scott rounding the final turn now, getting ready to get hard on the power to start his flying lap. Another great looking livery here, obviously a little bit 888 Vodafone inspired, I think, that one. And fantastic looking car, but as Enzo Ferrari used to say, no race car is beautiful, they become beautiful when they win. So let's see if he can turn this one into a beauty.
Yeah, see, I actually got a little bit confused. I saw the bell on the front splitter there, but that's obviously his teammate Brodie Bell's new photography venture. So no, this is definitely Brodie Scott, 222 car. Actually, I got a feeling Brodie Scott last week had jumped the start, and I think he was somewhere up near the pointy end of the pack. So he'll be looking forward to a good result tonight as he sets the fastest first sector of anybody so far in the session.
Yes, he certainly will. I mean, he seemed to have got out of the cutting quite well as well. Oh, nice little slide there. Absolutely leaving nothing on the table. This is what top 10 shootouts are about. Putting it all on the line.
Put it all on the
wall. How close does he get? Certainly
Go,
using
Brodie,
all
go.
the road there. He may have actually had to back out of it a little bit there, and it's cost him a little bit of time. He didn't look overly quick just coming out of McPhillamy, but he's certainly using all the road. He's run a little bit wide there. Is he still on it? Sounds like he's still on it. And as he comes down to braking for Forest Elbow, tricky little braking point this, gets the car rotated, a bit of smoke off the tyres, that won't hurt him too much, and hard on the throttle down. This has been a very entertaining lap so far.
Well, this is what you want to see in a top 10. I mean, you know, if I'm in there as well, I'm just giving it 110%. Bit loose across the top, though. You would think that has cost him. He has lost a bit of time in that second sector. So,
yeah, he didn't, like we say, he didn't look that quick out of McPhillamy after that.
Nice up on two wheels.
Yeah, he's certainly leaving nothing on the table, which is what we like to see. He's going to run it right out towards that white line there, get it braked, get it turned, get hard back on the power again and get it across the line.
Oh, I've got a 2:05.7, so it doesn't give him pole, but he's in front of Laz. I might take this interview
certainly
Ed, as we've got Brodie up here. Brodie, I think that might be a lap that you've got to send to your mate Brodie Bell and get some photos done, mate. You left that looked good. Looked good. Well, it wasn't as quick as probably what you'd hope.
Definitely not. Took it a bit too cautious. All cold tires. I've stacked it before on the last top 10 we did, so I didn't want to.
Looked great, mate. Right up against the wall, up around the top of the mountain. I think you might have even touched the wall, going into Skyline, and then up on two wheels at the exit of the chase. Some good shots in there. We certainly enjoyed it here.
That's what it's all about. But we'll see how the others go now.
All the best. Well done.
Thanks, buddy.
All right. So while we were talking to Brodie there, we've got Riley Curtis out there on his fast lap as well, so he's just making his one now up towards. He's gone purple in sector. Looked very use all the road right hand side coming out of his turn, but that doesn't look to have slowed him down at all because, as we mentioned, he is the fastest so far. Purple again as he comes out of Silman Park and going across the top of the mountain now, not leaving an awful lot on the table. Certainly, getting right up there against that wall. This looks like a nice one.
And not only is it good pace, but we're talking about the retro liveries. Apparently, one of Riley's first liveries that you come up with. So going retro with one of his own styles, looking great out there, looking great through the elbow as well. Gets a terrific run out of the elbow, right up against the wall. So we head into the elbow, crucial corner. Oh, he's actually hit the wall.
Hit the wall.
On the approach to the elbow. I don't know if it'll affect him. It's still a purple sector. The next sector will be interesting to compare as he gets a good run out of there. But yeah, hitting that wall, I don't know if that also affects the lap itself, whether he's counted. Sometimes iRacing doesn't like that.
Yeah, but, I think we might find this lap is cancelled. But I can tell you that particular livery was a livery that he did for Chaz Mostert in his early days. So it was a Chaz Mostert livery designed by Riley for Chaz Mostert's real-life race car back in, I believe it was the V8 development series in those days.
Nice. Oh, geez, right over two wheels and a bit slow out of that corner as well, unfortunately, for Riley. Let's see where that puts him.
It hasn't counted.
No, it's counted. So that hit on the wall, unfortunately, costing Riley there.
Okay, do we want to drag Riley in? We'll have a quick chat. And Riley Curtis, obviously, that little strike of the wall there costing you dearly.
Yeah, I didn't even realise I got it until I was on Conrad and seen the 0x at the top there, unfortunately.
Well, that's at the very least, you've got the top 10 starting position regardless. So, you'll be able to drive off from the 5th row tomorrow.
Yeah, pretty happy to even make the top 10. It was a bit of a surprise, so we'll see how tomorrow goes. Long race.
All right, Fantastic. That was Riley Curtis there. Unfortunately, not getting a valid time in. But, yeah, he'll start in the top 10 tomorrow. And now we've got Scott Stevens out there in the Greg Murphy lap of the gods-inspired livery.
Well, talking about people that are surprised to be in the top 10, Scott Stevens is a driver we haven't seen much of in the series, and he's made the top 10 shootout. And yeah, as you said, I mean, in terms of liveries around Bathurst, doesn't get much more famous than this livery of the back-to-back years of the Kmart Commodore. So Scott Stevens, everybody's he heads up around the cutting. 5.5 took Murphy's number as well.
It does come with a certain amount of expectation and pressure around this place in the top 10 shootout. I'm not sure I'd be wanting to drive it, but this lap looks pretty good so far. I think he seems to be doing it a fair amount of justice. He's yeah, doing a great job so far. All the braking points seem to be right. He's hit the purple sector first up as well, so he's just coming through Skyline now, hard on the brakes, just dancing it down the hill. There's such a tricky section this. If he gets it through the dipper, which he does, gets back on the power smoothly. Oh, he struck the wall. Is that going to give him a 0x and invalidate the lap, same as Curtis?
Yeah, I don't know. It looked pretty gentle. I think he might be all right with that. I think Riley's was a little bit harder.
No, he's got damage. He's clipped the inside wall at the Forest Elbow as well. He's got damage on the front of that car.
Oh, he does too. That's not a good sign. Geez, that is quite a big hit.
Yeah, but just anybody you'd know who probably drives this circuit quite a bit, the way the wall just sort of juts out there at Forest Elbow, and you can just catch the inside front on that, and that looks like what's happened to Stevens there, unfortunately. And I imagine that with that level of damage, we're probably going to see an invalidated lap here.
Yeah, I think he's eased off a bit. He's going to finish it off anyway. Good on him. It's a shame. He had purple sectors. It's not the first driver to have purple sectors and then hit the wall and invalidate the lap. So pressure starting to get to some of the drivers. Yeah,
definitely. So grab him up for a chat. Have a quick yarn to him, Matt.
Scott, unfortunate there, mate. What happened? Oh, you muted Ski. He's not happy. He's like Laz. Not unlucky there, Scott.
Unfortunately, we haven't got him.
No. But we do have Daniel Hederscheid, one of our now. Basically, had these last four drivers that are coming out: Daniel Hederscheid, James Ruwalt, Tyson McAvoy, and Alex Court. These are probably our four of the main guns, I suppose you could call it, of the series so far. And we're about to see Daniel Hederscheid do his thing.
Yeah, he's had a great series so far, hasn't he, Hederscheid? You know, he's stayed out of trouble for the most part. He's had a couple of ones where he's got into incidents that probably weren't of his own making a lot of the time, and but he's always been a consistent performer up the front of the series, so absolutely no surprise to see him scoring a starting place in this top 10 shootout as well. So, he just has to make a second bite of the cherry to get it turned in there, so that's not going to be the start to the lap that he wants. And I imagine that little error there under braking is going to be costing him speed the whole way up this straight. He's got a lot of work to do across the top of the mountain to bring that back.
As I said, turn one, and it seems such a simple corner, but the blood's pumping. You know you got to get that corner right, and it's so frustrating when you make that little mistake on a hot lap at the first corner. But there's still plenty of time to be made up as he goes around the cutting. Again, not choosing, all the drivers sort of carrying a narrow line on the exit of the cutting. Doesn't use too much of the exit either on the outside through McPhilly Park, down towards the grate. Not going near the wall, quite conservative by Daniel, but then again, a lot of drivers aren't finishing their laps, so if you can manage to just keep it on the road, he'll probably be right up near the top.
Yeah, certainly. He already knows that he's going to have a couple of people behind him because of those guys who've had invalid laps so far. So he just really needs to complete a clean lap. Yeah, as you mentioned, he has been a little bit more conservative than I expected him to be over the top of the hill. But he does seem to just get the tail wagging a little bit under brakes, coming into... Oh, it's a bit of a messy exit there as well. I don't think he's gotten to either of the straights particularly well. But I guess the clock will tell us exactly what the time's going to be at the end. Of course, there's no technique required here. He's just hard down all the way at top gear already. So the next thing he's going to be eyeing off is his braking point to the chase.
And I think he's got purple sector. I think this is a clever lap from Daniel. If he can just stick this clean, get it to the end with no incident points. He's quite quick as well. This will get him well and truly within the top four at the very least. So this is a very, very smart and well calculated drive by Daniel. It looks a bit loose at the rear under braking though, but again holds it up, crosses the line, and a 2:05.6. So
It's all
actually,
right.
yeah, 2:05.6 puts him into third position, and about half a second behind Darren. I'll hand him over to you, Ed.
All right, Daniel Heddershide. Yeah, that looked like a decent enough lap from you. Puts you P3 at the moment. It looked as though there are a couple of little errors there, perhaps needing to just take a second bite of the cherry going into turn 1 at the very least.
Yeah, I'm not going to lie, I was pretty disappointed with that. I think I should have been in the 4s. I was very cautious going right over the top there.
Well, certainly. Well, either way, you're sitting P3 at the moment, so we're just a matter of sitting back and seeing what the others do now, I suppose.
Oh!
Sorry.
Ruwalt! Sorry.
Just watching Ruwalt come through turn 1.
Sorry, Daniel. Ruwalt just butchered his lap, mate. Well, there's a spot for you. He's just absolutely lit it up on the exit of turn 1, almost put it into the wall. Sorry, Daniel. Sorry, Ed.
He's all right.
At the moment. Either way, thanks very much, Daniel, and yeah, enjoy the rest of the session.
Cheers, guys.
And I was just getting excited, Ed, because this was the livery that stood out for me as a massive Formula One fan and a fan of the Benetton of the 90s. This beautiful Benetton-inspired livery heads it on track, and he just made a huge mistake on the exit of turn 1. It's going to really put a dagger in any hopes of a pole position.
Yeah, certainly. He's half a second down in the first part of the lap, so really for here, it's just a case of probably bringing it home with a clean lap. But you know, just the effort they've gone to copy the fonts from the side pod sponsor, the way they've written Pace Syndicate there in the very similar font to what was on the side of that Benetton.
Bitburger beer.
Yeah, Bitburger beer it was. But yeah, certainly the amount of effort they've gone to with that is quite significant. So yeah, good job on that. It looks absolutely fantastic.
Just hearing his lap might be invalidated. We'll watch it to the end. Hopefully that's not the case. It was quite a big off there at turn 1. He did hit the grass, so iRacing might have adjudicated that to be an off track. A second down in any case, but which would put him somewhere around 6th position. We'll see what happens as James crosses the line, and it did count.
It did count, and it's put him in P3.
Actually, very good last sector. Wowee.
That must have been... He was a second down. Where's he pulled that back from?
That last sector was just very clean. So James has had the pace there. If he didn't make that mistake into turn 1, I reckon pole position was on the cut. James, you there, mate?
Yes, boys.
What a last sector, mate. It's a shame of the in there.
Yeah, I tried hard to make it good and messed it up. Just put my head down and made sure I finish off the lap properly.
Well, you're in third currently, mate. Only 4/10 off pole, so a really ripping end to the lap to put you in a really good position for what is a long race tomorrow.
Yeah, good spot to start. Hopefully, can sort of stay in the top 5. Good spot to push on with tomorrow.
All right, mate. Well done, and love the paint job, mate. Looks mint.
Yeah. See you tomorrow.
See you, mate. Good luck.
So that was James Ruwalt. He's sitting there in P3 at the moment, having just taken it away from the car we saw prior, Daniel Heddershide. We're looking at Alex Court now, and he's actually just exited the first turn and is powering up Mountain Straight as we speak. Another Holden Racing Team inspired livery on this particular car, and yeah, it just looks as though he's yeah, there's not a lot to say so far. It all looks very safe, very under control, and quite quick as well.
Yeah, quick in qualifying. Alex was second fastest in the split that I was watching there. Very good start to the lap, nice and clean. Nice and early gear shift there to avoid any wheel spin. See how close he gets to that wall. Nice and tidy so far from Alex.
Yeah, absolute textbook lap so far. Let's see. Yeah, just gets it out nicely to the wall, close but not too close. Certainly looks as though he's got everything under control so far. It's been absolutely mistake-free as we sit at the moment as he goes over Skyline, comes plunging down the hill through this set of turns, down through the dipper, gets the car rotated really nicely, back on the throttle as soon as it lands and now he's just coming up to brake hard into Forrest's elbow. Lit a smoke off the tyres by wheel. That won't hurt him at all. And he's back hard on the power for Conrod straight.
It's a beautiful run out of there down Conrod. Lap looking very, very good here for Alex. A lot of the drivers making mistakes tonight. If this stays clean, he could be right up near the pointy end of the field coming through tomorrow. After Alex, we do only have the one more driver after this.
Tyson McAvoy's next.
Yeah, so we'll see what Alex can do here as he nears the end of the lap. Been beautiful run so far. Last corner. This one can sometimes get you too after a beautiful lap. Let's see if he goes through here. Car looked nice and steady. Nice and good on the apex. Fairly conservative exit, and that is pole position. Or
By
provisional
a
pole
distance.
position.
By
7/10, Ed.
absolute distance. Alain Prost always used to do that, didn't he? You know, where he was so smooth and understated, and then suddenly you just find out that lap of his was the pole, and it's the same case here. So we might just grab Alex in very quickly. Alex, fantastic lap there, mate. You know, we were trying to commentate on it, and there was almost nothing to talk about. It looked absolutely textbook.
Yeah, thanks, guys. Yeah, I was pretty happy with it. Yeah, not a real lot to say about it, really.
No, well, I'll tell you one thing that we can say about it. It's pole position by it's you and then daylight. It's it's 7/10 of a second ahead of everybody else. So I'll tell you what, Tyson McAvoy is going to need to pull out an absolute blinder to beat you. Fantastic work, well done.
Yeah, thanks so much, boys.
Okay, so that was Alex Court there. Now we've got Tyson McAvoy, the fastest man from qualifying, starting his flying lap here, and he gets it braked nice down into Hell Corner. Oh, a little bit of a messy exit there, but he's on his way.
Well, this is it. I mean, Alex Court has thrown the gauntlet down. Tyson would have known that time of a 2:04.4, and that puts a lot of pressure on the driver that has to come out last, and this is where the cream rises to the top. We see in real life a lot. The person that goes last pull that lap out that gets the pole position. Can Tyson do it tonight?
Well, let's not forget that Murphy's famous lap of the gods. Most people actually forget that John Bow was the car before him, and he put in a brilliant lap miles ahead of the rest of the field himself, which would have gone down in law if not for the fantastic lap that Murphy put in afterwards. So it's all here for the taking for Tyson McAvoy. He's just snatched the brake a couple of times there, but a little bit of smoke. I don't think it's going to cost him too badly. But the lap so far, not looking as tidy as Court, but he has done the fastest second sector so far. So there is pace in that Commodore.
This is going to be close. He's got the fastest third sector as well. This is where you can make up and lose a lot of time. Looking quite good through there. Good exit out of the dipper. Tyson could be on for an upset here over Court. I think this is going to be close.
Yeah, this lap looks fast, doesn't it? Court's lap didn't look particularly fast, but it was. This one looks fast.
Right,
the back of the car's dancing around. He's snatching brakes here and there, but he's really, really up on it because he's hitting purple sectors all over the top of the mountain.
And he got a great run out of Forest Elbow as well, which is what you need on this track for a fast time. You see your green split ticking down. That's there he goes through the chase as another purple sector arrives. This is a critical braking point. Beautifully over the curve. Let's see how he ends the lap.
Yeah, he's got one more braking point to go. You don't want to do all this good work. He's going to know what the splits are. He's got that information, so he knows how far ahead he is. Gets a little bit of a wiggle under brakes, but it doesn't hurt him. He gets the car rotated, almost uses that lack of stability in the back to get the turn around, and it is pole. It is pole by 0.4 of a second. Where did he pull that from?
Lap of the gods, Ed. Lap of the gods. ABRUZZI Super 2 style.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. We'll get Tyson in here for a chat. Tyson McAvoy, pole position. You were fastest in qualifying. Alex Court put down a fantastic lap, miles ahead of everybody else, and you've gone out and crushed it.
Oh, that was tough. That was bloody tough. As the nerves cranking and. Whew.
Talk us through it, because I mean, Alex's lap was very smooth. You couldn't see any kind of the car moving around or anything. Yours was spectacular. There was tyre smoke, there was the back end waving across, you're fighting it the entire way down, but we just kept seeing these purple sectors pop up and up and up and up, and you managed to finish it off brilliantly.
I made a big mistake at the tyre power corner. I ran so wide and I was like, oh, that's the lap gone. Like I've stuffed it straight away. But I pushed on and yeah, very shocked with my time.
Well, congratulations. You are going to start in pole position tomorrow with a brilliant lap, 2:04.099 to get around Mount Panorama. So fantastic lap, awesome job, and you're going to be starting with clear track in front of you tomorrow.
Thanks, boys.
Thank you very much, Tyson McAvoy, our pole sitter. All right. Well, good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final round of the ABRUZZI V8 Supercar Series. It's been a long journey over these last 12 races and 12 weeks. There's been some fantastic races, and we're hoping that this race ahead of us is going to provide the crescendo to the whole series. It is the Nationwide Tracking Services Bathurst 200. And we actually have the boys from Nationwide Tracking Services watching tonight, Paul Carmody and the boys. Hello, thank you very much for supporting the race, and hope you enjoy what's going to be put on for you here tonight. All the drivers looking to put on a good show, I'm sure, and I hope you guys enjoy yourselves, as well as everybody out there who's stuck with us throughout this series and enjoyed the great racing that it's had to offer. So with me to call all the action tonight, as always, as he was for the top 10 shootout, Matt Andrews. He's here. Matt, how you going?
Ed, how are we? And those watching, welcome to the Nationwide Tracking Systems Bathurst 200. This is the big one, Ed. I mean, not only is it the end of the championship, if you're not in the championship game and you win this one, you walk away a pretty happy man.
Yeah, it's almost sort of a standalone championship in its own, Bathurst, isn't it? Certainly the crown jewel for absolutely everybody. And we've saved the best till last in this series, bringing out the best circuit in Australia, premier circuit in Australia, and I imagine it's going to toss up the race of the year as well. And another thing to keep in mind is this particular race is double points. So for all those guys who are up there in the championship and fighting for their championship positions, this is really, really important for them.
Might have had a microphone glitch there. Do you have me clear?
Did get you just briefly.
That'll be iRacing having a bit of fun with my comms there, but if you've got me clear, just let me know. Otherwise, I'll just wait.
You sound fairly clear now, just almost resolved. But we're seeing a few really awesome paint schemes out there. You may notice that a lot of the paint schemes out there on track at the moment resemble some of the great paint schemes of the past. There's tributes to V8 supercars, Formula One cars out there. You know, loads of old style liveries, really well done as well. So if it looks to you like you're watching a race from the past, you're not. It's just the fact that some of these paint schemes are harking back to years gone by. All right, so we're just ticking over to 5 minutes left in this practice session before we head off to the races. And we've actually got JP Courier here, who's got the championship points and is just going to run through the championship situation as it stands right now.
Evening, fellas.
Evening, JP. How you going?
Really well. Excited to see some great racing tonight. I think it's going to be an absolute cracker.
Yeah, look, hoping so. It certainly has a knack of throwing up great races, this place, doesn't it? And it doesn't get the title of the Premier Circuit in Australia for no reason at all. So all these guys know what's on the line tonight. There's more than just the race victory on the line tonight, of course. Double points in the championship as well, as we mentioned. And all the drivers definitely focused on race now. Qualifying is done. And it's all getting set for the race.
Absolutely, and there are a few drivers tonight who have got a mathematical chance of winning, taking out this championship, what with the double points on order. Things are really close at the top, with James Rualt currently leading the championship at 1,578 points closely followed by Brodie Scott with 1,566 points. Tyson McAvoy, that put in that great qualifying lap last night to put his car on pole. He'll be playing for all the marbles tonight. He's currently with 1,548 points. Daniel Heddershield with 1,542 points. Alex Court, 1,466 points. Marty Hansen, 1,440. Jamie Davis with 1,416. Simon Chadwick with 1,406. And Aaron Gilbert with 1,372. And to round out the top 10, Darren Caldwell, who's really been coming on form, with 1,350 points.
So how many of those drivers can actually take out the title tonight if everything goes their way?
Look, pretty much the entirety of the top 10 have a mathematical chance of taking out the title tonight. However, of course, there'd have to be some catastrophes befall the top drivers, and we don't want that to happen. But yeah, they do have a mathematical chance of winning tonight.
What a fantastically enthralling battle that we've got on our hands then for that championship, and indeed this race win. So we're coming to the end of practice now. As we mentioned before, we've only got a couple of minutes left before this one rounds up, and then we're going to be across into the race, and we'll get a bit of an idea on the starting grid for you, and then we'll be off and racing. Now, I'm not sure if my colleague Matt Andrews was having some issues. Matt, you back?
Yeah, I'm back, mate. I just got hit by a cyclone or tornado of sorts for my audio, but I am back. Hopefully you can hear me. Yeah, sorry about that. iRacing and Discord decided to not play along, but yeah, fascinating battle. The fact that McAvoy's on pole and only 30 points back on a double point round, with Court as a bit of a buffer there, that fascinates me in terms of the championship battle. I'll have to keep an eye on that this evening for sure. So not only did the drivers want to win this one, I didn't actually realise just how tight this championship battle actually is.
Yeah, it's very, very tight at the top, and pretty much all the way through the field it's extremely tight. And to go into this final round with 10 drivers mathematically in contention for that much coveted inaugural title is quite an amazing scenario, I suppose, and just speaks to the level of competition we've had so far.
Yeah, it's been a great competition. You know, not only have the drivers really improved throughout the championship, there's been a fantastic race control that people behind the scenes probably don't see week in, week out. I have to do a shout out to them. You know, we get the plaudits a lot from the drivers for the coverage, but a lot of people behind the scenes trying to improve these drivers, and you know, the stewarding and the race control has been impressive. JP behind the camera, so a bit of a wrap up for what's been a fantastic championship to date, and really looking forward, and no better way to wrap it up than at the mountain.
No, certainly not. So yeah, very much looking forward to seeing what the boys are going to have in store for us tonight, what the circuit's got in store for us tonight. Yeah, it's definitely going to be a tight one. So we'll get the opportunity to run through the starting grid for you in just a couple of moments. I believe that practice session is literally in its death throes right now, and then we'll have everybody lining up on the grid. We can say for absolute certainty, as you mentioned, Matt, we've got Tyson McAvoy there on pole, absolutely cracking lap in the top 10 shootout. And all right, so it looks as though practice has finished. We're advancing onto the race, and in just a couple of moments, we will see the drivers begin to grid up as they will start for the race, and we're just going to run through that very quickly for you before the green flag flies. All right, so the drivers taking their position on the grid right now, and as mentioned, Tyson McAvoy on pole with that brilliant lap yesterday to take the pole away from Alex Court, who in himself had a fantastic lap. Then we got Caldwell and Chadwick on the second row, Ruwalt and Hedderscheid on the third row, then Brodie Scott and Lasseth Leonage there, 7th and 8th. Fifth row, Scott Stevens and Riley Curtis. Then we've got Jamie Davis and Mark Duggan, 11th and 12th. Then Aaron Gilbert and Ben Morris. Bailey Bell, a little way down for him. Hayden Harrison. John Sorensen and Benjamin Siren. Tony Gaffett and Jonathan Ben. Danny Vassell in the Big Dan Commodore. Then Marty Hansen, Tony Clark, Lee Roberts, Luke Holland, Blake Urquhart, Brian Cooper, John Schultz, Alexander Newton, Robert Bauer, Riley Simmons, Michael Schroeder, Scott McCune, and Ryan Ducati and McCarthy rounding out the field of 34.
Yeah, pretty tough for some drivers at the back of this field. They're actually starting around the corner. Can be quite tricky from the back of the grid as we're getting close to green for what will be the final round of this championship.
And the revs rise. We're just about to get going. And we are away at Bathurst. Good initial launch from McAvoy. He's bogged down just a little though. Caught coming around on the outside. It looks as though McAvoy's going to run unhindered into that first corner, lead them up the mountain for the first time. Caught in second, Caldwell third from Ruwald. Then we've got Chadwick and Hederscheid side by side battling. And we've got one around in the background, Matt.
Yeah, we do. I was just trying to catch who that might have been. I think it might have been Scott Stevens, sorry, who may have been turned around there. I'll just go back and have a look. It's well, it's Hell Corner for a reason, Ed, and out of the exit of Hell Corner, he's just been tapped and turned around. There's about 3 or 4 cars trying to go through the same bit of track there, and unfortunately, he was the one that left out and high and dry on that one.
Yeah, certainly. In fact,
actually, Aaron Gilbert. Sorry, Aaron Gilbert was the one turned around.
All right, so bad start for Aaron Gilbert there, but they're running fairly well single file, nice and cleanly. McAvoy had a little bit of a moment with a bit of a tail wag just as he came up towards the cutting, gathered it up. Looks a little bit unsettled coming over Skyline as well, but he's on cold tyres, let's not forget, and he's coming under a lot of pressure down the hill from Court at this early stage. And we might have a bit of a chat, might make that track trivia tonight. Why is Hell Corner called Hell Corner? I wonder how many people
There you
know.
go. I'm not going to have a go at that. I haven't got one trivia right all season. Just in relation to that earlier crash as well, Mark Duggan and Bailey Bell were also caught up in that and are sporting a fair amount of damage on the front end of their vehicles. So bad start for those boys as well.
Yeah, certainly. Watch this big snake of V8s making their way out of Forest Elbow, down Conrod Straight and into the chase now. McAvoy still leading from Court. Those two just snatching a break on the in the braking zone there. Did not produce any smoke. Didn't seem to affect him at all. He's coming under, well, I wouldn't say a lot of pressure from Court just yet, but Court certainly letting him know he's there. And there's quite a lot of battling going on behind. I think we've got is it Chadwick. Yes, Chadwick having a look at Hederscheid. Hederscheid manages to hold on around the outside, and that slowed Chadwick down. And he's actually going to come under attack from Brodie Scott in that colour scheme there, reminiscent of the old Vodafone 888 cars. He's just got the inside there of Simon Chadwick, runs him up to the curb there. They make a little bit of contact, and Scott off onto the grass, 2 wheels on the grass, gathers it back up, and they'll both move to find another day of racing.
Yeah, terrific racing there. Going back in the pack, just looking through the midfield for any carnage. Everyone fairly well. A couple of drivers struggling on cold tyres though, out of the exits of a couple of corners, but by and large, fairly clean as they make their way around the first couple of laps. Actually, I think someone just grazed the wall in the old FPV BP Ultimate car. So to see if that was, yeah, Benjamin Siren there, running very wide out in the grain into the wall. Unlucky for Siren. Bit harder for me without the usual liveries on, but a fairly good start for most of the people tonight.
Yeah, it's tricky, isn't it? You know, so I pick out these guys, we get used to their paint schemes all season long, and then all of a sudden everything changes. But one thing that I can tell you for absolute certain is that Alex Court has closed up onto the back of Tyson McAvoy, and he is applying all sorts of heat to the rear bumper of that leading Commodore, and it looks like it's going to be a bit of a dice between these two, especially in these early stages.
Well, these are the two that stood out in the top 10 shootout. They seem to have far more pace and over the field, and they're streaking away as we predicted yesterday that they might do. What they've got to be careful of here, though, is they don't tangle up into each other. It is a fairly long race tonight, 32 laps of Bathurst, and it can all get untangled pretty early on, but it seems Court and McAvoy have the pace early on. But long race tonight. What you might find is some people might use up their tyres a little bit too early, and others will start to come on late as the shift develops.
Yeah, certainly, and it's almost one of those, isn't it, where the faster you go, the more tyre wear you're going to have generally. Of course, driving style comes into it as well, and these two guys both looking very smooth out the front, but of course, there's so much more that comes into play, especially in a longer race like this. And of course, let's not forget, we've got the championship leader sitting there in third position at the moment, 2.9 seconds off the lead, James Ruwald, and he's just sitting there. He's got a nice gap in front of him, a nice gap behind him, and I think for this stage of the race, he's going to be very, very satisfied with where he's sat right now.
Oh, he was one Ed yesterday. I mean, if he didn't make that mistake out of turn one, I think he might have been on for close to pole position with Ruwald. He's made a couple of early moves, and he's sitting there behind these two. He wouldn't like seeing McAvoy out in front with double points, but have to check. But I think right now, if you were to leave it at this, McAvoy and Burhop would almost be identical points.
Yeah, certainly, and let's not forget as well that we've got the scenario where the regulations say that you must complete a cool-down lap here, and this is a long lap. This is a really long lap. So these guys can't afford to be making the kind of mistakes that we've seen in the last couple of weeks, where they've run short on fuel, even towards the end. We've seen Burhop make a couple of errors with his fuel. We've seen Chadwick overfuel on a couple of occasions. And we've just actually heard, I think, that car 63 has got a drive-through penalty for contact. Mike Schroeder. So that's unfortunate for Schroeder. I'm just trying to go back and see exactly where he is in the field at the moment. He's 29th position in what's a very nice looking Peter Jackson throwback, I believe, the old Glenn Seaton style car. So yeah, very nice one, but it's not working out very nicely for him so far.
No, but no, you're right about the fuel. And I mean, last week we saw the bit of controversy with the fuel at the end as well, which certainly spiced up the end of that race. So these guys need to be very, very wary of that this evening. But yeah, as we have a look through the pack, obviously the top two, McAvoy and Court. I think Court's doing the right thing here of just sitting in behind McAvoy and being patient, or either that or he's just trying to hang on for dear life. But it looks like he's fairly comfortable there in second place. Ruwalt desperately trying to bridge that gap to the top two. Hedershide, another regular looking out in front, and then behind Caldwell in fifth is a bit of a train starting to form behind there. Chadwick in behind his rear wing, Laz in behind Chadwick, Stevens, Scott, and Davis and Morris all in a big line waiting to pounce on any mistake.
Yeah, Chadwick just having a look at Caldwell there, and he's just thought better. Oh no, he's locked up the brakes, and he went to have a big dive there into Griffins, but he's managed to sort of hit the abort button at the very last minute and back out of that one, and he's already carrying a little bit of, he just gets a bit crossed up coming into the cutting as well. I think there's a bit too much temperature in those tyres, and now he has got an absolute freight train there backed up behind him.
And this is where you can see huge accidents across the top of the mountain if people aren't patient. I mean, the Lassith Leonage in behind Caldwell here needs to be patient, because you can see that the 777 is struggling, but you can't quite send them up the inside usually at Bathurst, especially not at this early stage. And one thing we haven't mentioned then too is a possibility of a safety car. I mean, you have an accident up around this top section of the mountain, generally going to breed safety cars and thinking that's another little player in the strategy. Is Chadwick actually makes a lot of ground. The Kmart Commodore and Scott Stevens actually, someone's in the wall. It's Caldwell. Oh no, geez, he just made that ground. He's locked up, I think, going into the elbow and gently grazed the wall. I'm not sure who almost hit him there, but they seem to avoid him just in time. But Caldwell losing a lot of spots, doesn't seem to have too much damage.
No, it looks as though he got away without too much damage, although he shed a boat. Oh, we got a big one happening at the chase. We actually had, sorry, we'll go back to the Caldwell incident in a moment. We had Leonage and Scott Stevens bang into each other in the braking zone in the chase. Leonage trying to get back on the track. That was nearly very messy. They're running 2 by 2 by 2 down into Murray's Corner. And what's going to happen here? Are they going to get themselves sorted out? You mentioned patience earlier on. We've seen these boys race all season. None of them have got a patient hair follicle. They don't operate that way. And Scott Stevens now having a look down the inside of Jamie Davis. He's got that one done. And it's just absolute pandemonium, position swapping almost by the second.
That was wild across the top of the chase there with Laz and Stevens. It was reminiscent of a few battles we've seen over the years in the real racing. As Laz came onto the circuit, he almost cleaned up another car, a bit like the controversial Win Cup Tander McLaughlin incident there. But he's still in it. Lost a lot of positions though, back down in 12.
Yeah, they're still going 2 by 2, having a look to maybe recreate the old Murphy Ambrose incident up there into the cutting, because Jamie Davis has managed to hold that position, take it back from Scott Stevens. These guys are just threading the needle now in between the walls. These cars, you look at them from the outside, it looks like there's plenty of room. From the cockpit, there just isn't that much room. It's a very, very narrow, twisty arrangement over the top of the hill here, with line crests and so on. and when you're running nose to tail with a whole bunch of other maniacs, it makes things very, very difficult.
Oh, yeah, it does for sure, but the big winners out of these are the Gripping Paint Graphics cars of Brodie Scott and Jamie Davis. They've really peeled through that pack now and have a bit of open space, although, as I said, Jamie Davis still has Scott Stevens all over him. Scott Stevens was actually one of the fastest cars in the pre-race warm-up session that I noticed, so the Kmart livery there, the old Kmart livery, very quick, just a little bit of supporting, a bit of damage, a bit of scratches from the previous battle.
Yeah, I mean, he had a pretty good speed in the qualifying session yesterday, didn't he? The only problem was, of course, that he invalidated his lap when he made a small error in the shootout, so ended up starting the back of the order as far as the top 10 is concerned. But just looking back at the front now, Alex Ford 0.4 of a second behind Tyson McAvoy. That is all there is in at this early stage. McAvoy has just snatched the front brake and just missed the apex a little bit, so he's definitely feeling the pressure.
I'm just listening to race control. A couple of drivers maybe not too happy with the incident up at the chase we're talking about there, where Laz had to re-enter the circuit. Looks like there might be a couple of unhappy drivers with that, and race control having a look at that incident there. So Laz Leonage might be under a bit of scrutiny from the stewards.
Yeah, certainly. It's be a bit of a shame. I mean, if you go off the track and you're carrying momentum through the grass, I mean, you want to try and rejoin the circuit. I didn't see anything particularly dangerous, but I'm not race control, so I guess we'll wait to see how they call it.
We'll wait and see on that one, but yeah, you're right. It'd be good to see Laz continue on his race. From what I noticed in the replay, it didn't look like anyone was actually taken out, as Darren Caldwell is having some enormous issues with that car across the top of the mountain. I was just watching that battle pack, and he got very, very loose going up near the grate, almost into the wall, lost another position. So Caldwell, who was really sitting pretty in 5th, now finds himself down in 12th position.
Yeah, he's lost the position of Riley Curtis there, hasn't he, just since the start-finish line. So Caldwell not having the start to this race that he would ideally like to have. And Riley Curtis, of course, running that ex-Chas Mostert livery that he designed himself, the great man.
Caught, and McAvoy side by side through the chase. So I just caught that on the side of my, as I flicked through there, Ed, and Courts decided to try and go around the outside of the chase. Pulled out of it at the end, McAvoy defending his position. So here we go. I mean, this is what we're talking about. Were these guys going to be patient, try and sail off together and battle out towards the end, or were they going to have a go? Alex has decided that he's feeling confident, his tyres are feeling fresh, and he's going to try and get this race. I mean, of course, he's probably looking at his relatives and seeing Rupwalt maybe closing in as well, and probably decided to try and make a move. But wow, that was wild across the chase.
Yeah, he's decided lap 6 is go time, so he's definitely getting after it. Now, Rupwalt has closed up. He's only 2.7 seconds behind these guys now, but I wonder how much of that was due to the side-by-side battling. I wonder if he was actually pigging that gap before those two actually got side-by-side. But as we mentioned earlier on in that very same lap, McAvoy just showing some signs of looking as though he's feeling the pressure. He sort of snatches the brake again coming into the cutting. We've seen it a few times where he's just barely snatched that inside front tyre in the braking zone, and that's not going to be doing his wear any good, although it's a minuscule amount that all adds up if you do it a few times. And it's probably, I imagine that Court is very, very happy to see it. At the same time, I think Rupwalt, watching these guys battle side by side, licking his lips.
Yeah, he wouldn't. I mean, all of this stuff has championship repercussions. I mean, if Tyson gets tangled up with Alex here, or Alex gets tangled up and they get taken out, almost hands the championship to Rupwalt. So these guys need to be a little bit careful, because they're still well and truly in the hunt for a championship. And there's some good prizes online, I believe, too, for the championship. So it's a fair bit of, people say sheep stations in sim racing, there's actually quite a big championship this one to win tonight.
Yeah, it certainly is. There are prizes on offer. They're not racing for nothing here. I was just going to have a look to see whether or not Court had the opportunity to have another go down here into the chase. Not close enough this time, and I think McAvoy breathed a sigh of relief there, just being far enough ahead that he's not going to come under attack, have to defend his position down into the chase that time, because a very scary braking point when you've got somebody all over the back of you.
Yeah, it is. I mean, but it is probably one of the better overtaking opportunities on track. I mean, besides turn 1 and 2 in the chase in the last corner, I mean, that whole top of the mountain section's virtually impossible to overtake. So if you're going to have a crack, you got to do it, and you've really got to send it down there. If you hesitate going down to the chase, it can normally lead to some pretty major drama.
Yeah, certainly. I was just having a quick look at Tony Gaffer, who's back there battling with Brian Cooper over 29th position. He just had a small look into the chase there, and he's carrying a little bit of battle damage.
We've got an issue with Benjamin Siren. He's in the wall. He's dropping positions. I'm just watching the replay. He goes into the last corner to Siren, puts the car up onto the grass, and all on his own spears his Mustang into the wall. And actually, geez, behind him there's a big Kev Commodore that almost gets tangled up as well. The big Dan Commodore does exactly the same as what Siren does on the grass, and almost spears into Siren while he's into the wall.
Well, we've seen quite a lot of drivers in the past, pro drivers, actually make that error. So it's not overly surprising to see. It's a deceptively tricky piece of racetrack, that particular corner. And unfortunately, Siren has, and Vassal, from what you're telling me, has fallen afoul of that particular section of racetrack. So onwards and upwards for those guys. They've got to continue on now, but of course they're driving around with very damaged cars.
Yeah, it has been the greatest season of the last, especially the last 4 or so races for Siren. He just seems to be on the back of the tow truck, as his teammate Simon Chadwick has been saying sort of week in, week out, and that just adds to his misery there, unfortunately.
Yeah, so the leader's heading down to the breaking point at the chase again, and they are still, as you were, nothing quite as extreme as what we saw a couple of laps ago with those two drivers side by side. I think Court may just be taking stock now and seeing if there's another opportunity that's going to present itself there. As McAvoy just gets the tail out a little bit, this could be an opportunity actually here for the lead. Is Court going to have a dive down there inside a hell corner? He's certainly showing the nose, but thinks better of it this early on.
I thought he was about to send it down there, but he's got a great run out of turn 1. McAvoy's actually swerving to try and break some sort of toe. I think he's going to try and defend the inside here. We'll see if Alex Court decides to send it down the inside. He doesn't quite have the toe that I thought, so it looks like McAvoy's car has got a bit of better straight line speed than I thought. We've just seen in this series the toe has just been absolutely mega, and it looked like Court was going to get the benefit of that, but not to be. So McAvoy doing well as he sort of lights up the rear brakes going into the cutting, so he's definitely feeling the pressure. McAvoy, I think he'd be sweating quite a bit already by the amount of pressure that he's being placed on his shoulders.
Yeah, he's feeling the pressure, but he's driving very, very well, isn't he? You know, he's made a couple of slight little missed apex here and there, but he hasn't really done anything to sort of open that door for Court. And Court's piling on the pressure as best as he knows how. And I think now, you know, Nigel Mansell always used to say that when you get to the back of another car, you've got to attack immediately. You can't allow the car in front to build up a good picture of your strengths and weaknesses. And I think McAvoy's got that now, and I think that Court would have been very optimistic early on in the race when he closed up on the back of McAvoy and managed to... I actually think that Court's clipped the wall there. I reckon Court's got damage.
He does in the front left.
Yeah, he's dented in that front left fender. I'm just going to have a quick look on board with him to make sure that the steering wheel is still very much straight there, so it hasn't affected his steering. But aerodynamically, that is not going to help Alex Court out at all. And what I was just saying prior to that actually happening is that you know, Court would have been quite optimistic at the start of this race about his pace and being able to home in on the back of Tyson McAvoy. But now he's been behind him for a few laps, and he's starting to think, okay, well, where exactly am I going to get this done? There's not one clear opportunity is presenting itself, and now with that, given the fact that most of the best opportunities for overtaking here at the end of long straights, now Court's carrying aero damage, well, it just compounds that problem.
Yeah, he's not gonna like that. iRacing really punishes you aerodynamically with that, even a slight bit of damage like that. He'd be losing kilometres down the straight now. Just watch the replay of him. He did actually, as you said, just graze the inside wall at the elbow there. Just took it a little bit too tight, maybe a bit eager, trying to get a really good run out of that corner. But it shouldn't affect him too much. It would just affect his straight line performance, which, as you said, will hurt his chances of an overtake. But again, as I've seen in this series, most overtakes have been in the pits. We'll see how his fuel loads and things stack up as opposed to Tyson's when it comes time to stop.
Yeah, certainly, and it's just that little piece of wall. I mean, people probably know that there's a little bit of wall there on the inside of Forest Elbow that just sort of juts out. It doesn't follow a constant smooth radius all the way around. It can just peak out. We saw somebody get into it yesterday in the top 10 shootout, which unfortunately invalidated their lap. And we've seen Court run afoul of it here. So, yeah, it's certainly something that catches people out on a fairly regular basis. And I think he can consider himself quite a lucky boy not to have damaged the steering, because the steering on these V8 supercars is quite fragile. The cars aren't designed to be banging off one another. You can bend the steering very, very easily on one of these cars, and he's got away with it. So that, I think, is going to be counting his blessings for him, to be honest.
Now, as we just get to the end of lap 10 here and take stock a little bit, we've got the two leaders, Tyson and Alex Court, still streaking away, looking very good. James Ruwalt in third, clinging on as best he can, only a couple of seconds behind the top two. That's really your championship battle, along with Hedderscheid in fourth. Now that top four has about a 7-second lead over Simon Chadwick in fifth, so it's definitely sort of your top four drivers that are moving away as McAvoy's in the pits.
All right, well, this is the first of the major players. We have had a couple of cars in for the pits so far, but this is certainly the first of the major players, your race leader. And I think I'll see Simon Chadwick coming in the background as well. But McAvoy will keep an eye on here, make sure that he stops right precisely in his box. And yep, goes up on the jacks, no problems whatsoever. So he's going to take on an amount of fuel, get some new boots on that car, and he's going to be underway. And that is the first strategic play that we have seen so far.
Yeah, so he's basically defended off any chance of Alex Court doing an undercut. Fairly clever move by Tyson. I always wondered when I watch motorsport why leaders always wait for the person right behind them to pit and just get chewed up by the undercut. So quite a clever move. The only problem with that as he comes out when you do make this move is traffic. And he's literally slotted straight in behind car 13 there of Alexander Newton. He's got the lights flashing. He does not want to be held up as Newton is blocking McAvoy. McAvoy drives literally around the outside of him, but that would have cost McAvoy some time there.
Yeah, but there's absolutely no reason for Newton not to block, is there?
No,
he can defend. They're racing competition.
Fair game.
So,
But
yeah.
if you're Alex Court, you're coming in this lap now, surely. I mean, if he's got a spotter, if he pits, he'll take the lead there. That would have cost McAvoy probably 8/10, I'd say. So
Yeah, certainly
at
least.
This is an opportunity for Alex, and I might just I'm just going to flick over to Court now to see if he does come into the pits. He's coming through the chase as we speak. I'm not sure. Do these drivers have spotters? I don't know. Some of them maybe.
I'd say some do, some don't. It would depend on the, I guess, the arrangements they've got inside that particular team. But McAvoy now is coming out. No, Court stays out. That's a surprise. And Ruwalt's in. Ruwalt just peeling off in the pits in the background. Hedderscheid going with him. So we'll need to keep an eye on these two and see how their pit stops play out as well. We might get a bit of an idea when these guys come out about how much time McAvoy got cost there in that battle with Newton. We'll see how much closer that gap is.
Yeah, that's a great point. I'm going to keep an eye on Ruwalt and Hedderscheid here because Ruwalt was 3 seconds back from McAvoy when he pitted from memory, although he is now 3 seconds back from Court. So seems as though Ruwalt might have lost some time, although my timing might have probably had a bit of a meltdown because of all the pit stops. But well on into the jacks is Ruwalt, so is Hedderscheid behind him. Ruwalt's had a bit of an issue with fuel over the past few races, so we've just got to be mindful of that when he pits, but I'm sure he's figured out that issue coming into this week. As he gets dropped off his jack. He's through already.
Yeah, McAvoy's just come through, so he's he was driving inside, outside, and around cars on that particular lap, and it looks as though the gap between himself and Ruwalt behind, just looking at it visually, looks as though it's actually grown.
Yeah, that's interesting, unless he's short-fueled a little bit at that stop, but I can't figure out why that gap would be so big, although, mind you, Ruwalt is only just in front of Hedderscheid, so Ruwalt has underfueled the past few races. He might have gone the complete opposite here and made sure he's got plenty of fuel in that car.
He might be taking the pain now and taking the extra fuel now in order to save himself a little bit of time in the last stop later on. If it comes down to a matter of tenths, that might indeed help him out. But we've got Alex Court. He's coming down into the chase. He's miles ahead of all the others at the moment because he has not yet made his pit stop. We'll see if he peels off this time round. We'll see if he gets any of that damage repaired. Yes, he's coming in. He peels off to the left-hand side of the track. And now, of course, he still has to be on it. He's got to be clipping those apexes, bouncing over those curves, using as little of the track as possibly can. There we go. Hard on the brakes at the last second. Get that pit lane speed limiter engaged and trundle down the pit lane to the waiting virtual crew members.
Yeah, an important stop for Alex. This whole fuel game that we're talking about here is fascinating. It'll be interesting to see what type of decision Alex takes here at his second stop. Beautifully onto the jacks, nice and calm. You can be a little bit too over anxious at times and miss those marks, which can cost you time. Alex not doing that as he waits for that fuel to come in. Just having a look to see where McAvoy is. He's just starting to go across the start-finish line now. As Court is still up, he gets dropped. This will be relatively close, but McAvoy's going to get him comfortably here.
Yeah, so it is absolutely as you were, just a slightly bigger gap. I tell you what, McAvoy must have been putting in some absolute lap times. 204.7 he put in, and that's that's quite brisk in anyone's language. So that's where that gap has come from. But a quick note as well that Alex Court has taken his fast repair, which means that car is repaired back to its pre-race state. All the damage is completely repaired, but that is his one for the race, I believe.
That's right, they only get the one, so if he does have any other incidents between now and the end of the race, he won't be able to get that repaired. But it's good. It's good in the Super 2 Series to have that, because that slight little bump like that can affect your race. But now he can go hell for leather. I'm really questioning the amount of fuel that McAvoy's put into this car at this stop. I've got a feeling we might see a little bit of gain from those other drivers at the next stop. I just can't understand how he could possibly pull out that big of a gap purely just in a one lap scenario. So we'll keep an eye on that anyway as the race unfolds.
Well, keep in mind he did pit 2 laps prior to Court, so he was putting in some storming times. So there's a little bit of that, but I tend to agree with you. I think there might be a bit of strategy at play as well. And just while we're talking about drivers making gains, Daniel Hedderscheid has overtaken James Burhop, who I believe is going to be a net third place when it all shakes out. We've still got a couple of guys in there, Leonage and Hansen, who have not yet come to the lane.
Yeah, surprising move there by Hedderscheid. I mean, we saw earlier Ruwalt did get out ahead of him, but I'm just watching a replay. It looks like Ruwalt's actually he had about a 3-second margin over Hedderscheid in good pace. Going into the chase, he's just run wide. Missed his braking marker onto the grass, and then Hedderscheid has said thank you very much and basically driven right past him on the approach to the last corner. So that was just a free kick there, as they would say in the commentary for Hedderscheid, Ruwalt making his own mistake.
All right, so that's not going to please him at all, but there's still a long way to go. We are actually coming up to almost half distance in this race. It's flying by, we haven't seen any safety cars yet. Hopefully we don't, although it would be nice to see everyone get bunched up again. But I'll say that I'm a bit of a purist. I'd like to see the races run unhindered, and I'm sure that most of these drivers, especially the ones out in the lead at the moment, would tend to agree.
Oh, I love a safety car. I love the cat being thrown amongst the pigeons and mixing it up. But I mean, with the amount of pace that Court and McAvoy have, I can't see anybody after a safety car getting past those two boys. They seem to have it in the bag. The championship picture's really starting to develop quite interestingly here. We'll have to check in with our broadcaster JP as this race unfolds to get an idea of just what we're looking at, because I think as this race gets closer to the end, we could potentially have drivers one position away from taking this thing out. So we'll keep an eye on that. But yeah, as we enter the middle phase of this race.
And we were talking earlier on about Hansen and Leonage. They hadn't come to the pits yet. They have both now made their stops, and Leonage is defending frantically from Hansen as Caldwell locked it all up just on his way into the dipper there and just skidded out towards the wall. He managed to rescue it. He's carrying some damage on the front of that Commodore already, and he would have had an absolute ton more if he did manage to save that one and keep it away from the wall. But what it has done is actually put Scott Stevens all over the back of him, and don't be surprised to see Stevens get a run. That Commodore of Caldwell's is damaged, and Stevens looks very, very clean indeed, so I expect to see a move coming down here. They're going side by side, running into the chase. Stevens right out by the grass, right around the outside, so he's going to get it pulled up.
Oh, what a move.
Great move.
That was amazing.
Alright, so that's probably going to settle that little battle for the time being. And Hansen still all over the back of Leonage. And these two fighting it out. They went into the pits together, they came out together, and the battle is just still going on and on and on.
Just having a look at a battle here of Danny Vassal, Lee Roberts, and Jonathan Venn battling it out. Just getting side by side in the exit of the chase, but this is a three-man pack that looks like it's going to get quite spicy. Geez, I love that big Kev livery. That brings back some memories. But here comes Jonathan Venn in the Jack Daniels inspired car as he gets chopped off a bit there by Roberts, and he does tap him. Taps Danny Vassal. Jonathan Venn now is going to have it run going into the cutting. Going to be pretty hard to overtake around the outside there as the blocking move comes there from Roberts. So Roberts and Vassal touching, Venn trying to capitalise on that, but unfortunately unable to there. Oh, jeez.
Yeah, while those boys are sorting themselves out, Heddershot and Rubon are much closer, battling over what has now become third place. And of course, third place instead of just waiting for the pit stops to shake out, so they're battling over that. And we've also got Court right up behind McAvoy again, so Court's proven that, especially on new tyres, he's got the wood over McAvoy in terms of pace, but McAvoy's been really faultless in terms of his defence so far. But I'm just having a look at the right-hand side of McAvoy's car, and it's got a big ugly scrape along it, so that could also explain why the gap between those guys has come down.
So the fastest lap of the race by Alex Court, he's pumped down 2:04.3. He's laying down the gauntlet now. It's a half race distance, and he's decided his time is now, and he is all over the back of Tyson as he goes up the inside into turn 2. McAvoy's out on the grey stuff, and Court's going to take the lead of the race. What a great move, and it looks like McAvoy's really struggling, Ed. I think that damage might be a little bit more than cosmetic.
Yeah, I think that McAvoy did a really good job in the initial phase defending there. He's kind of moved across, he's squeezed Court. Court's kept his foot down, and as McAvoy's come back out, he's kind of given himself a much better line into the turn. But unfortunately, he just appeared to overcook it, and as you mentioned, he got right out there in the grey, lost the grip, and that's what resulted in him Court getting past.
Jesus, McAvoy's really struggling here. Court already putting a bit of a gap on the car. McAvoy just looks loose. I was trying to rewind and see what actually happened with McAvoy, because it does look like he's smacked a wall quite hard on that right-hand side of his car.
Yeah, the car's loose, isn't it? You know, it's handling sort of evil as it came over the top of the hill there. There's, the back end moving around and so on. And that's something that we're not seeing from Court. And also, yesterday, if you remember Court's qualifying lap, he was very smooth. Yeah. That just seems to be a hallmark of the way he drives that car, particularly around this circuit, and it's working for at the moment because he's just drawing away from Tyson just slowly.
Well, that's changed the championship picture again. So Court, who is a chance of winning this championship, now gets that huge double points buffer out in the front if he was to hold on to the lead of the race to the end. Ruwalt, the championship leader, was only slightly ahead of McAvoy, so you've effectively got 3 drivers overlapping each other in the championship. It's going to be quite an interesting finish, this one.
Yeah, and speaking of James Rewalt, he's caught up to the back of Daniel Hederscheid, and he is all over him in a paint scheme where we're marking on during the top 10 shootout, that beautiful 94 Benetton style paint there on Rewalt's Mustang. We've got two Commodores battling away up the front. We've got two Mustangs battling over third place at the moment. And Rewalt just, he's managed to draw up to the back of Hederscheid. Has he got anything for him? Don't know.
Yeah, just having a look. I mean, Rewalt, it's just a shame he had that incident earlier. I mean, he before the pit stops, he was within only a few seconds of the leaders, made that error, and now he's stuck in behind Hederscheid. I mean, Hederscheid's got good pace himself, don't get me wrong, but Rewalt will be very eager to get past, especially now that he's seen Court make that move into the lead. So Hederscheid, Rewalt, we've seen them all season long battling it out. Rewalt will be keen to get this move done as soon as possible.
Yeah, and certainly with Rewalt driving for the Pace Syndicate team, they're a fairly sizable team, so I'd be surprised if he didn't have somebody keeping an eye on the rest of the race for him. And just sort of having a look up the road, knowing that McAvoy's carrying that damage, I'm sure that Rewalt is very, very keen to get up there. I'm not sure whether Hederscheid knows about it as well, but either way, he's going to be absolutely flat out as well. And they can just, as they're coming out of Forest Elbow, they can just see the two leaders just cresting the hill and going underneath that Fuso bridge there. So it's kind of tantalisingly within their reach. They can see it, but they just can't get there at the moment.
No, that's right. Okay, up at the front. Court has pulled a little bit of it. Looks like McAvoy stabilised a little bit, but Court's definitely built a bit of a buffer. Looks like about a second there over McAvoy.
Yeah, but they both lapped in just about identical lap times, 0.3 of a second in favour of Court. So there's not a huge amount in it. And of course that's, sort of varying lap to lap to lap as well. So these guys here, we've got Hederscheid and Rewalt, they're lapping at almost identical times. Rewalt actually got a really good run out of Hell Corner there, and he's going to tuck his nose right underneath the rear wing of that Mustang ahead of him. And it looks as though he's just going to jerk out there and have a look around the outside. Very difficult to get it done around there. And Hederscheid just comes back across to cover. But yeah, these guys are going to be side by side before too long. You really get that impression, don't you?
Yeah, you do. A move's going to be made sooner rather than later. It's just a matter of time. But I think it's really important for Rewalt to get that done as soon as possible. But just listening to race control here, it looks like Rewalt might be trying to communicate with race control here over something. Didn't quite catch that, but Rewalt maybe maybe not too happy with Daniel in front. Not quite sure there, but yeah, that's interesting from the Stewards. But throughout the pack, we've got a bit of field spread happening here. Little spot fires all over the place, but everyone now settling into the groove.
Yeah, certainly, and I think Rewalt, the only thing that I could possibly imagine that he wouldn't be happy about was Hederscheid's defending, but he's got a right to cover his line, I suppose. So I didn't really see myself too much wrong, but once again, it's race control's call, and they've got dominion over the way these drivers behave. And if they do see anything untoward, they're going to not be shy about handing out some sanctions. But let's hope for Hederscheid's sake nothing happens to him. And just looking up and down the field at the moment, of course, the closest battle on track for the major positions at the moment would be this Hederscheid and Rewalt battle. But looking back even further, we've got another pair of cars. They're almost 2x2 at the moment. We've got Brodie Scott and Simon Chadwick battling over 5th and 6th positions. And then going back further from there, we've got Leonage, who's just in front of Riley Curtis. Curtis carrying a significant amount of damage on the front end of that Mustang. It's certainly not as pretty as the last time I looked at it, and it seems to have shortened the thing by around about a foot, but he's still carrying reasonable speed. And he's got Scott Stevens and Marty Hansen right up there behind him as well. So a bit of a foursome going on here too.
Nothing better than
we got one round. Sorry, we got one round of Murray's. Jamie Davis looped it at Murray's, keeps his foot in it. That's great driving actually, because he had 3 cars bearing down on him there. He's kept the foot in it, swung the back right around, and got it out of the way of those other cars who would surely have made contact with him if he didn't manage to do that. Really, he'd be annoyed with the mistake, but that's expert driving from Jamie Davis.
McAvoy is back in front of Court. I've no idea how. Did you catch that, Ed?
I certainly did. I'm just going to wind back to just take a little look, and it appears as though that Court's made an error through the chase, lost all his momentum, and McAvoy's managed to slide one up the inside into Murray's corner.
Well, there you go. So both drivers swapping errors at this stage. Fortunately for Court, he doesn't have damage like McAvoy does, but handing the race lead back now with only 14 laps to go. He wouldn't be happy with that. Looked like he had the race under control.
Yeah,
as he's all over the back of McAvoy here. He's just got so much more straight line performance. I think McAvoy would be suffering from that external damage that he's picked up somewhere along the way. So I think Court's got to bide his time. If he can get a good run out of either turn 1 or the elbow, he's going to have a fairly good chance of getting that lead back.
Yeah, but I mean, McAvoy, even with the damage, he's driven so well, hasn't he, all the way through. And he's proven himself to be adept at keeping Court behind him when he's had to. Of course, he's playing with a little bit of a handicap now, carrying that damage. It does appear as like Court does have the superior speed, but McAvoy knows how to place that car, make no mistake. So we'll see what they do up here. I'm surprised that McAvoy's
look at that.
Over.
Yeah.
Why didn't he hug the right-hand side of the road?
Not sure. I think he might realise that he just doesn't have the pace at the moment. I mean, he's going to have to take... Although he's defending it quite tightly, gets out on the grey again. Court, quite rightly, not giving him any room onto that racing line. Lights up the rears, does McAvoy. That's not going to get the job done. Court retakes the lead of the Nationwide Tracking Systems 200.
Wow, what an exchange there. I'm really, really surprised that McAvoy actually departed from that inside lane. Just gave Court the opportunity to stick his nose down there, and he's already been able to take a pass at that location, so he knows Court's got that in his locker to get a move done there. And yeah, I think he'll be a little bit disappointed watching it happen back. He still have the lead in this race.
Yeah, he will. I mean, as I was just saying, I mean, he's just going to have to try and stick to the back of Court here, I think, until this next round of pit stops, get that quick repair done, and see what he can do. But he's going to try and minimise the damage here, I believe. Just a quick championship update. James Ruwalt has just been crunching numbers in these last couple of laps. Ruwalt still holds the advantage in the championship. Really, the only person from here who can scuff at that championship is Brodie Scott, who's right behind him. Well, not right behind him, he sits behind him in 5th position. So Ruwalt, even though he's getting a bit antsy behind Hedderscheid, still looking very likely to win this championship.
Yeah, I wonder if that's going to be relayed across to Ruwalt or not, if he's got any way of actually finding that out. I certainly wouldn't want to be crunching those numbers while trying to fight with Daniel Hedderscheid, that's for absolute certain. But yeah, I'm sure his strategy is basically just to finish as high up the road as he possibly can, high up the order as he possibly can. But yeah, just on Tyson McAvoy, I think you're quite right. He's still got that fast repair in his locker, doesn't he? So he's going to be able to go in, get that done, and come back out. But of course, what we did speak about was potentially the fact that he may have taken a shorter pit stop and a shorter fill in his first stop, looking at the amount of time he gained. So he could sort of have the worst of both worlds at the moment, where he's got a pit and he's also got to take on more fuel, and he's actually behind his main rival. So a lot of things sort of, I guess, from that perspective, if we're correct in saying it. Of course, let's be honest, there's no guarantee we are, but
normally not.
If that, normally not, but if that's the case, if that is the case, and he's going to take a longer pit stop than Ford, then he really needs to be entering that pit in front of him.
Yes, he does. Just going back here, Marty Hansen having a huge dive up the inside of Scott Stevens, and gets the shoulders out. He got alongside the A fella there and gets the move done. So Hansen up from 22nd on the grid into 9th position there. So great move on Stevens heading into the second corner.
Yeah, it's probably worth giving Marty Hansen a little bit of props for that drive. I mean, we're only 2/3 of the way, not even 2/3 of the way just yet through this race, and Marty Hansen's just about halved his position. He's gained 12 spots. So done an incredibly good job. Both of those guys there, Scott Stevens and himself, have overtaken Riley Curtis, who we mentioned was carrying that damage around on the front of that Mustang. And Hansel on an absolute charge. I'll be very interested to see what kind of lap times he's putting in clean air.
Love the Redback Racing livery. That's the old HSV livery thing when Rick Kelly and Garth Tander were battling out for the championship many moons ago when Rick Kelly was actually fast. And here he is in that beautiful inspired livery sitting inside the top 10.
All right, and I believe that we just heard that a penalty had been handed out to Danny Vassell in the number 30.
Big Dan.
I believe it was, there may have been another car.
And McAvoy's in the pits.
All right, so McAvoy's in. We did talk about the pit stops, didn't we? So he's definitely going to take the repair there, get that car propped up. I believe I just saw the door pop out there, and Brodie Scott looks like he's coming down the pit lane as well. Unfortunately for him, hasn't been too much of a factor for the lead so far in this race. McAvoy giving the thing a few little squirts on the throttle while he sits there getting service. I'm not sure if fuel's critical, whether or not he would want to be doing that, but he's sitting there now. He's off the jacks and he is away, and he's really got to make hay right now. He can't afford to come out behind somebody, but once again, he comes out behind somebody. He's come out behind Darren Caldwell.
And Darren Caldwell, a bit of damage. He's not going to be overly, and on old tyres. So we just hope. I mean, in the previous time, McAvoy was able to get the move done prior to turn 2. You don't want to get caught behind the traffic, heading up over the top of the mountain, where it looks like that might be what ends up here for McAvoy. So now we're just going to keep an eye on Court. I mean, this is probably the key moment of the race as to whether or not McAvoy can make some sort of gain over Court. There's a car turned around there at the cutting. I believe it's Scott McCune. Just got to be careful when you're in this position not to flick the car around into traffic. Geez, he's in a precarious, but this could be a safety car.
Yeah, he's not going to get out of there, is he? Safely. I mean, I'm not sure if there's any gap coming up, but he's doing the right thing. He's sitting there, and he might just be looking to back that thing up the track, and he almost could have got it done there if he could have got it spun around, but he's doing the right thing, keeping out the way, backing it into the little bit of service road there, and just collecting the tyres as well. But anyway, Alex Court into the pits. So we'll catch away from that. There may be a safety car coming. We don't know. So this could be a very, very good move for Alex Court at the moment. It could be good for McAvoy as well, having already made his stop, of course. Ruwalt shoots through to the lead, and Alex Court is on his way down to get service. So we'll see how this all shapes out between him and McAvoy. Of course, keeping a wary eye on McCune as well to see if he recovers that car, whether we wind up with a safety car.
Yeah, I was just watching McCune. He's got it going. No dramas there. One car slightly held up as he makes his way back onto the circuit. Hayden Harrison doing a bit of avoiding and into the wall. But let's head back to Court and see if he gets out in front of McAvoy on track as McAvoy ends across the start-finish line. Now heading down into turn 1. Where's Court? Oh, geez, this could be very, very close here. McAvoy comes around turn 1. He's going to get the run out, and he's got the fresh tyres. Court's going to have to defend up on the inside. He has to take that inside run. I don't know if McAvoy's going to quite get the run on him out, but he's definitely in the tow. Court's doing the right thing here of defending, sits in the middle of the circuit. McAvoy's thinking about sending it. Oh, geez. He thought about it. Court defends it well, but this is going to be a tough few corners as Court's tyres come up to temperature.
Did McAvoy get the wall there? He looked as though he read, no, there's no damage on the side of the car. As though he knows he's going to have to get this done really, really soon, because pretty soon Court's tyres are going to come up to temperature. So McAvoy needs to attack now. Did we promise you the race of the season at the start of this broadcast? I can't remember. I think we did, didn't we?
It's just shaping up to be really tight. I mean, not only is it Bathurst, there's also a pretty interesting championship scenario that'll unfold later on as well. But yeah, he needs to get this move done. I mean, your best bet is into the... Geez, he's going over the grass. Is McAvoy chewing up those ink points just to try and get onto the back of Court. The elbow is a place, but it's pretty dangerous. He's going to be looking for the best run he can get out of this corner as he goes out wide, comes in. Little lock up from Court. A good run out of that corner from McAvoy, but it looks as though Court has also got that run. But he sits into the tow. We'll see what it can do. Obviously, McAvoy's had his fast repair completed now, so he will have decent straight line speed again. Tucks under the rear wing through the chase. I tell you what, he could probably send one here. Defensive is Court up the inside. Another defensive move. that's going to open the door up for McAvoy, who's going to get the run down to the last corner here. He pulls to the left. Court's going to have to defend left end in the pit lane. McAvoy goes up around the outside. It's a pretty hard place to get the move done. But once again, McAvoy's going to get the run out down to turn 1. See if he can get it done. Court goes defensive again. He's waiting for the move to be made. McAvoy's going to go. He shifts. He goes up the inside of Court. Court's got nothing he can do. He's up on 2 wheels. He's hit Court. Court's spun. He's going to have to give that position back, maybe. I don't know. Or does he drive off?
Oh, Court's made a really bad recovery too. He falls victim to Heddershide and Ruwalt.
Does he give the... You don't like redressing, Ed? Does he redress that?
No.
He's... Oh, this whole race has turned on its head. I think he's trying to redress. Heddershide's going to take the lead.
He's been ordered to redress. Race control came on, told him to redress. I think he was far enough up alongside there. But anyway, he's been told to redress. He's got
wow. Race of the year. This is going to be crazy. Heddershide's in the lead. Ruwalt in second, and your 2 fastest guys are now 3rd and 4th.
I don't know. I reckon he was far enough up there. I mean, I'm not a steward, but I think he was far enough alongside. But either way, that's the call that race controller's made. He's had to let Court take that position back, and they're going to go at it again. But of course, that has just handed the race lead to Daniel Heddershide, who's just sitting there wondering what just happened. and how he sort of wound up in the lead of this race. And of course that has made things a lot better for James Ruwalt as well, provided him with a little bit of an extra buffer in the championship, having gained 2 spots there himself. So yeah, but championship changing all the time as well.
I've got 2 things for you here, Ed. The damage on Court's car is on that back left quarter panel, so just above his left rear. So yeah, I think the redress probably not a bad idea. I mean, I know you don't like it, but no. here's a championship permutation for you. If Ruwalt gets tangled up, now these guys are going to catch him. They're faster than him. If Ruwalt gets tangled up with those guys and crashes and is out of the race, Scott will win the championship.
Scott will win the title.
Scott. If
we've
Ruwalt,
barely seen anything from so far.
If Ruwalt crashes or has an incident here, Scott will be the one who would claim the title. So Ruwalt's got to be careful. Oh, McAvoy's all over the place.
Yeah, McAvoy's having a look, isn't he? I don't think he's happy about redressing there, but either way, he's done what he had to do. And I'm just going to go back and have a little bit of a look at that incident between the 2 of them, because I'm not convinced.
No, but it certainly spiced up the races. McAvoy gets super loose out of the first corner there, puts his rear tyres onto the grass, almost loses it in the wall. So he's frustrated, I think, in trying to get that gap. Court desperately trying to wheel in Ruwalt and Heddershide in front. But yeah, it's Ruwalt the one I think he'll be sweating bullets at the moment, because I think he'd be right now in his sim rig that he's got the championship in the bag as long as nothing goes wrong. The issue he's about to find himself in a sandwich, a Heddershide and Court sandwich. So if he gets tangled up there, Scott would do a Stephen Bradbury and take out the title.
Yeah, certainly. I've just gone back and had a look at that incident. It really did appear as though, certainly Court's tried to move across and make it as tight as possible there for McAvoy, and he's also snatched his rear brakes as he's gone into the corner, so he's run a little bit wide, and McAvoy's gone inside. And when they actually made contact, I mean, McAvoy, yeah, he was up on the curb, but when they made contact, it was literally his wheel into the front door of Court there. So yeah, I don't know, mate. I'm going to stay out of that one. But, as much as I haven't stayed out of it so far, I'm going to stay out of it now. But I'm not sure about that one. But anyway, it is what it is.
It is what it is, and what we've got now is basically 6 laps of action. When you've got what I would consider these top 4 drivers, them all in pretty much reverse. You've got the fastest guys sort of 3rd and 4th, and you're slower of the 4 in the lead with Ruwalt in 2nd. So I think we give that a couple of laps, that's going to form into one spicy little meatball with 6 laps to go.
Yeah, it's got a concertina up, isn't it, for absolute certain. And we got Ruwalt now. He's starting to put pressure on Heddershide. I think probably what he wants more than anything is just to get clear of this group. I don't think he wants to be in a sandwich,
no,
especially not with a championship on the line. And I'm fairly sure that he won't have done all the maths in his head to work out exactly where everyone is. He's just got to finish as high as possible. So he's going to probably try and make a move on Heddershide there. But I'm quite surprised we haven't seen the Court McAvoy duo make their way any closer to the back of these guys yet. If anything, you'd say they've actually fallen away.
Yeah, that is interesting. I thought they would close up a little bit further in the previous lap for Ruwald 4.9, Heddershide 5.3, Court 5.5. So yeah, he did actually lose time on the two in front. I think after that spin, it can be a little bit hard to get back into a rhythm. He's just got to find that again. I mean, also too, when you do spin and line up the rears like you did, you've got tyres that aren't really happy with you. So he's got to wait for those to come back into their optimum temperature range.
Heddershide got it really, really sideways just coming up out of Sulman Park. We saw Ruwald just snatch his brakes through the cutting, lose a little bit of time. Well, Heddershide's lost all that now. Just the back end of that car stepped out. He was lucky to recover it. I reckon he must have had probably in that car about 45 degrees of steering lock on catching that. Very, very fortunate to do so. Probably a bit of skill as well, let's not forget. But yeah, that's brought Ruwald right up behind Heddershide again. He's certainly going to be in slipstream range here. Let's see what happens.
And that's what I mean with the championship. If Heddershide makes a mistake, hits a wall and bounces into Ruwald or something like that as the innocent victim, that's the championship down the drain. So he'd be quite nervous and trusting Daniel that he's going to be nice and clean for the remainder of this race. But yeah, as you said, still surprising the Court and McAvoy not closing the gap on these guys as quickly as I thought.
Yeah, and it seems as though that McAvoy definitely the slowest of the quartet now, I suppose. I'm not sure if he's carrying... No, it doesn't really look like he's carrying much in the way of damage from that little altercation with Court. So, yeah, in any event, he's not really hounding the back of Court the way he was certainly earlier on, as Heddershide just steps the tail out a little bit under power as he feeds in all those forward horses as he comes up Mountain Straight, stays right. And this is what I was talking about earlier on with McAvoy. Staying right there to the inside, staying right there on that line.
Oh, here we
Make
go.
the other guy go around the outside. Ruwald's going to try it on. Risky move with the title on the line.
Isn't the great?
Oh, pull that up.
Oh, I thought he was about to head to the wall there. It's so hard to pull the car up when you're out in the marvels there, but he had to put a couple of extra dabs on the brake to avoid the wall. That little tussle there opens the door for Court to possibly latch onto the back of these two.
Yeah, and I was talking on the last lap just about their sort of lap times and so on, and yeah, McAvoy falling away. He's 1.8 seconds now off the back of Alex Court, who's only 2 seconds off the lead of the race, and then sandwiched in between those guys, exactly like he does not want to be. James Ruwald sat there. I know James Ruwald not personally that well, but as a driver quite well. He's done a lot of laps around here as a regular in the PDC competition that runs up here. He's done a ton of laps around Mt Panorama, and I think he can sort of almost, as he just gets a bit slidey coming through Forest Elbow, but I think he can smell a bit of trouble brewing and he wants out of here.
Oh, and even though he's got the championship on the belt, we spoke about it before the broadcast, you want to win this one. You want to win Bathurst. Ruwald wants it, pulls to the side. Heddershide wants to win as well. This is the big one. They're going to battle it out through the chase. If there's a tangle here, Ruwald's got championship issues. He touches the grass with the left rear, goes up on the inside. Heddershide, they're going to bump wheels here. And he makes the move stick. Court's trying to get into the battle now here. He's going to get a run on Ruwald. They're still side by side. Heddershide and Ruwald as they head to the final turn. They're touching! And they're into the wall! That's huge! Ruwald's championship could be going down the drain, like we said, as Court now backs onto the rear end of Heddershide. McAvoy's in the mix. I'm running out of air.
Well, I don't even know what to say about that. I mean, we'll come back to that incident in a moment because it's still very much on for the lead. And as they go up over the mountain, maybe we'll go back and take a quick look at it because McAvoy now has had all of that gap wiped out and he is looking for another run at his old nemesis, Alex Court. He's running around the outside, Court staying to the inside in the draft of Heddershide. He's trying to find a spot to thread the needle. There's nothing there for him. He's got a big black Commodore on his outside. McAvoy trying that run around the outside. No one's made that work today. Is McAvoy going to get it done on Court, be the first one to actually get an outside move made around there? And no, unfortunately for him, no, he hasn't. So Heddershide is still holding on. I'm just going to have a quick look back to see what was what in that incident coming down to Murray's.
No worries as we head over to the top. Heddershide sporting an extremely damaged car. Court and McAvoy again find themselves in the hunt for this race. There's only 4 laps to go. Court and McAvoy do not have any damage on their car. Heddershide's going to really struggle down Conrod Straight as Cord and McAvoy are going to try and hone in on the back of this car as they go through the elbow. Ruwalt's still there, so I thought it might have been championship issues. His car isn't totally wrecked where he's out of the race. He's still sitting there in fourth and could potentially win this one. Now, this is where Court could line up to gain the lead of the Nationwide Tracking Systems 200. He gets into the back of Heddershide coming down the straight. Heddershide's going to have atrocious straight line speed with all of that aero damage that he's got. He's going to try and defend again. Here comes Court. Can Court make the move that Ruwalt couldn't? He goes around the outside of Heddershide. Heddershide goes to the inside to block. McAvoy's got to be careful not to hit Court from behind as they go through the chase. Here we go again. This is going to get set up here. This is where Ruwalt and Heddershide tangled on the previous lap. He defends the inside. Does Heddershide? Court goes to the outside. Doesn't make a move. They're touched again, and Heddershide's lost up. Court spun. Court's out of it. Heddershide somehow still holds the lead. McAvoy's going to try and get the lead of this one. Heddershide is defending for his life. He goes to the inside against McAvoy now. He's got challenger after challenger. He staved off Ruwalt. He staved off Court. Now he's got McAvoy driving around the outside of him. He's going to have the inside run into turn 2 and get him quite easily.
Yeah, just looking at those incidents, the incident there with Heddershide and Ruwalt, it just appeared as though Ruwalt didn't have enough room on the outside there and tried to make a move back onto the track, and Heddershide wasn't really aware of it. He was only a couple of inches in it, and now having a look at the incident that just took place, it looks as though in that one, Heddershide just moved oh so slightly in the braking zone and came across Court's nose.
Court's got quite a bit of damage on the front end. It looks like actually, I'm not going to say anything because this race is absolutely bananas. But at the moment, we've got 3 out in front. McAvoy has no damage on his car, and he's quite quick. Heddershide's got a lot of damage. Ruwalt's got damage. Court's got damage. McAvoy could have this in the bag now as we approach lap 30. There's only 32 laps in this race, so we're at the business end now. I can't believe McAvoy, who was 4th in this train of the quartet you mentioned earlier, now finds himself in the lead of this race only 2 laps later.
Yeah, I was going to say, who would have picked these 2 laps ago? But, you know, we've got McAvoy out the front looking pristine. We've got Daniel Heddershide looking like he's just done 7 rounds across Afghanistan. We've got James Ruwalt, who isn't looking a whole lot better. That thing's been in a war or two. And Alex Court is, it's looking pretty sad and sorry for itself in that critical aero area as well. Right on the front, the headlights pushed in, the bumpers pushed in. That is going to affect his aerodynamics. It's going to affect his front downforce. All 3 of those cars from 2nd down to 4th are going to be absolute bins to drive.
It's like been a boxing match these past few laps, just rubbing shoulders, banging wheels, but this is what Bathurst is. They wouldn't have done this at any other track. It's Bathurst. You want to win it, you've got to be aggressive. You've got to take it. And Heddershide was defending for his life. Unfortunately, it's cost him the lead this point. McAvoy has just basically picked up the scraps.
Yeah, certainly, and sitting behind these guys, he was at one point, and I believe pit stops were coming into play there, but he was 50 seconds off the lead and really not in contention at all. I think he was sitting around about sort of 15, 17 seconds away, all things considered, and now he's only 8 seconds off the lead of the race, 8.7 seconds.
Already stopped, yes.
He's having a bit of a quiet.
Here we go.
Stroking around there.
Oh, he is. I mean, that's really your championship battle at the moment. Ruwalt in 3rd, Scott in 5th. Ruwalt is under pressure from Court in the wall.
Yeah,
Court let it up. And, that's going to give a position to Scott, unfortunately, there as he almost reverses into Scott. Big damage there for Court. It's all unravelled for him, unfortunately. It looks so good only about 5 minutes ago. He's raced beautifully all night. Bathurst has claimed him here in the ferocity of the battle that unfolded. But yeah, back to the front, Ruwalt with the championship basically in the bag if you can just hold it there with Scott right behind him. But yes, if Scott can manage to get in front of Ruwalt here, the championship would be very interesting indeed.
Yeah, I feel a bit sorry for Alex Court there because that wasn't 100% his fault. Ruwalt's got a little bit loose as he's come up through Griffin's there. The back end of his car just wagged. He lost a little bit of momentum, and Court's was right up behind him, and he's had to take a little bit of evasive action, and that's just disturbed the balance of the car through that fast turn just enough to actually put him off into the wall. So yeah, it's unfortunate, and now that Commodore is completely stuffed. It's missing its boot and everything. That is a very unhappy looking Goodyear Commodore.
It is, as the top three finally separate from each other. McAvoy, Heddershot and Ruwalt look like they're on their way to a podium finish tonight, as we're about to enter the penultimate lap, as you like to call it, Ed, lap 31. And yeah, I need a drink of water.
Yeah, well, you can go and take one if you like, mate. I'll run you guys through a little bit of an update now on the race as it stands up and down the field. We've covered the top three. We all know McAvoy, Heddershot, Ruwalt sitting there in the first three positions. Brody Scott in fourth, Beatty Bell fifth now. Alex Court has dropped down to sixth position, and he's going to be coming under attack from Simon Chadwick, I imagine, in the not too distant future. Then we've got Marty Hansen all the way up to eighth. Hasn't he had an excellent drive tonight, Marty Hansen? Scott Stevens, Lasseth Leonage, Darren Caldwell still dragging that damaged Commodore around. Then we've got Jonathan Ben, Riley Curtis, Jamie Davis, he's spun earlier on down there in 14th place. Lee Roberts, Aaron Gilbert, Hayden Harrison 17th, Benjamin Siren, Blake Urquhart 19th, solid for a dirt driver. Riley Curtis just running off on the grass, unfortunately. And he'll gather that back up and come back to fight another day, although it may mean that my positions aren't up to date.
So yeah, Curtis actually into the wall a bit harder than what you thought there, Ed, and it looks like he's out of the race.
Oh, that's unfortunate for Riley. He was having a solid drive. And Blake Urquhart, 21st. Cudia McCarthy has just actually overtaken Blake. I think, Blake Urquhart coming into the pits actually. So, and then most of the guys behind them have come to some sort of grief at some point or another during this incredible Bathurst 200.
It was interesting going through the cars then, Ed, as you went through them. Just so many cars sporting war wounds, which is, classic Bathurst. Probably the only car that doesn't really have too much damage is McAvoy. He was sporting damage earlier, obviously. Got that fast repair done, and he's now sitting out in front, looking nice and pretty, while everyone else behind him is looking pretty sad and sorry.
Yeah, definitely. And remember the pace that McAvoy had. I mean, the only driver that was able to live with his pace early in this race was Alex Court, who's now obviously out of contention for the victory. And McAvoy, his car's in better nick than anybody else's. And I think that, I don't want to say it's easy, but I think his job has certainly gotten a lot simpler than it was a few laps ago as we start the final lap, which is the penultimate +1.
It is. That's right, and this is, when you watch Bathurst, which I do year after year, this is the one where you ride with the leader and it's celebrate the achievements, and I think he's going to be pretty pumped with this one. He was pretty excited yesterday when he won pole position in the top 10 shootout, and I think this will be right up there with one of his biggest wins in his sim racing career. Obviously, if it stays like this as well, James Ruwalt is going to be your inaugural champion for the series. So we're going to have a couple of guys up on the podium after the race that are going to be pretty happy as McAvoy enjoys his celebration lap across the top of the mountain.
Yeah, let's not call it yet. Let's not commentate and curse the guy. He's been through enough.
Yeah, true.
This guy, he's been put through the absolute ringer this race. So let's just say if he brings it home, he's going to be a very, very happy guy. But there's still a few Ks left to go, a few gear shifts to make, a few braking points to hit. It's not over. So let's ease up on the poor guy.
That's right, yeah. If he had crashed it across there. And he's flashing his lights. Look at him, he's pumped already as he goes down Conrod Straight. He's feeling pretty confident, Ed. I don't think he's worried about his braking markers. But
I think he's wanting that back marker is about 400 metres ahead of him, perhaps.
If he was to crash it from here, it would go viral, wouldn't it? The guy flashing the lights, celebrating. But what a win this is going to be for Tyson McAvoy. Gets pole position, converts pole position into one of the craziest victories I've seen in sim racing.
Yeah, it's not just this series, but in sim racing in general, it's been absolutely bananas. But well done, Tyson McAvoy rounds the final turn, and he's going to cross the line to win the Nationwide Tracking Services Bathurst 200. Well done, Tyson McAvoy.
Heddershot in second. Ruwalt, your inaugural champion. He's flashing the lights. He knows that he's won it. Wins some amazing prizes as well in third. And then rounding out your top fifth, Brody Scott, who'll finish second in the championship with the Dripping Paint Graphics team, and his teammate in behind him there, Bailey Bell, rounding out your top five.
Now, we got James Ruwalt doing burnouts. Is he going to have the fuel to get around?
Oh, he's not doing it.
He is.
No.
Yeah, he definitely is.
Okay.
So
Oh
let's hope
my
he's
God,
got-
no. James,
no.
what are you doing?
Just James.
Just try get to the pits, mate. Because if you don't make it home, Brody Scott's won the championship, mate. So just.
Well, how many positions they get penalised? 1 or 2? It's only the. It's two spots. So
Okay. No, he's
if
won
he
it.
finishes,
He's won it.
yeah, okay, he's okay.
Yeah, he's okay.
all right.
Yeah.
But
He's got it in his bag.
get around, James.
Oh,
Come on.
God.
I mean, we all like to see a burnout, but get on with it, son.
It was giving me a heart attack then. I was thinking, oh no, he's not going to throw away the championship with some doughies, is he?
No.
But,
So let's probably a good time actually to run through the final results of that one. We've got everybody across the line now, I believe. Everyone's made it home. So we'll just run through the final results of this particular race for you, and then we might run through the results of the championship as well. Then we'll get a few of the boys up here to run us through what was an absolute bonkers
Cracker.
200Ks at Bathurst.
Classic Bathurst. Bathurst always delivers.
Yeah, it certainly did on this occasion, didn't it? So we've got Tyson McAvoy taking out the victory. We've got Daniel Hedderscheid in second, James Rewalt third. Brody Scott in fourth, Bailey Bell fifth, Alex Court finishes sixth with half a car left. Marty Hansen all the way up to seventh, great drive from him. We remarked on it a couple of times. Simon Chadwick a solid eighth, Scott Stevens, Lasseth Leonage, Darren Caldwell and Jonathan Ben. Jamie Davis, Lee Roberts, Aaron Gilbert, Hayden Harrison, Benjamin Siren, Alexander Newton, Ryan Ducati McCarthy, Robert Brower coming all the way up from the back of the grid. Pit lane start, I think Robert Brower had. And then we've got Brian Cooper, Luke Holland, Blake Urquhart, John Sorensen, Riley Simmons, Mark Duggan, Scott McCune, Riley Curtis, Danny Vassell, John Schultz, Ben Morris, Tony Gaffer, Michael Schroeder, and Tony Clark, unfortunately finishing 20 laps down.
Just keeping an eye on McAvoy here. He's actually struggling to get home. Putting along Conrod Straight. It's almost like a race in itself, isn't it? To see if the cars can get back to the pit lane. Of course, if he
still
cannot,
got a motor?
He's still got a motor, but he's very, very tentative. Which
I'm not hearing a motor. Oh no, he has got a motor. He's revving it.
Yeah.
I don't know why he'd be revving it if it was a fuel issue, but he does appear to be coasting.
Yeah, okay. It looks like he should make it from here. It was just interesting how slow he was going on the way home.
He might just be savouring it. He might just be savouring it.
That's right. He might be having a chat. Yeah, okay. He's definitely going to make it. That's good to see.
Yeah. Big concerning, one of the unique things of this series that if you don't make it back round, there's penalties, and you don't want to lose this type of win for that. And James Rewalt has made it home as well after those burnouts, so he's made it back. So well done to all those guys. And we might actually just, I'm not sure if JP would like to run through the point scenario, if we've got that available. Don't have that available just yet, so we will run through that afterwards. What we can tell you is we do believe that pending any kind of issues, Rewalt's has probably taken out the title. So JP, do we have those points?
Hey fellas, yep, we've got those points up now. So after 32 laps of the nationwide tracking systems Bathurst 200, we have James Rewalt that's come out on top with the championship standings of 1,870 points, closely followed by Brody Scott with 1,854 and Tyson McAvoy with 1,848 points. So James Rewalt is our inaugural champion.
Absolutely brilliant driving from those guys all season long, and of course Tyson taking advantage of that that double points with the victory tonight. Anyway, we've got a couple of very happy drivers here to have a chat to, and we might just start with our race winner Tyson McAvoy. Tyson McAvoy, winner of probably the most bonkers sim race we've ever seen in our lives. Talk through it.
First off, I just want to say again a big apology to Alex for that contact we made at turn one. Like just hard battling, had to look, make contact, redressed, and then it was on. Like I can imagine you guys are going nuts in the commentary box, and I'm going nuts behind the wheel because it's just how tough that race was. Like 32 laps of hell.
So we saw early on, obviously you took the pole with a fantastic lap, and we saw that early on you had some quite good pace, but it did appear as though in terms of sustained race pace, Court just managed to edge you a little bit. But I guess the first few laps of the race, you were covering everything off, and you were managing to sort of hold him at bay, and then he managed to get round you a little bit later on. Just talk us through that battle and how it was sort of unfolding throughout the 32 laps from your point of view.
So the first few laps, the car felt amazing. The grip was there. The track was a bit cold as well. I think it was about 26 when we started. So the grip there and the setup went really well together. And then on through the race, like 5-6 laps into the stint, my front end of the car just didn't want to turn. So I'm turning into turn one, and the last corner especially very slow. So I just had no front grip. And then eventually when I smoked my rears from going slow off the exit, the rear had no grip and I couldn't turn. So I lost so much time, especially over the top of the mountain, where he would catch me and just had all over me in that middle stint. It was horrendous.
And we did see just the contrasting driving styles between yourself and Court. Court was, quite unspectacular, and you were probably a little bit more of an entertainer as far as the way you had the car moving about. Especially coming down the hill. You could really see you working at the wheel and wrestling with that car. Now, I just obviously want to take you a little bit further forward, of course, towards the end of the race. You're running in fourth place. You're running in there. It looked as though you were struggling to keep with Court at that particular time. You had the two Ford Mustangs there in front of you, and then all of a sudden it's turned into a race lead. Talk us through that.
Well, at first I was like, I can see the two cars at the front, 1, 2, we're going to battle. So I was like, I'm not going to push. I'm just going to save my tyres, and hopefully they have a little tangle, and eventually I catch the back of them. Because I knew as soon as Alex would catch the back of them, there would be a three-way battle there. So I was like, I save my tyres, just coast along, go ahead. And then 2 laps later, they're into it, and my tyres were pretty good. And then I had that amazing run out of the straight, but the carnage was just, it was entertaining, I guess. I don't know.
Entertaining? It was one of the best sim races we've ever seen. Just in terms of just craziness, I think it was absolutely mental to watch.
Chaos, didn't it? 2
Yeah.
laps of just one car behind the other, and then all of a sudden it was a volcano and exploding, cars everywhere.
All right, well, you've come out the winner anyway, the inaugural winner of the Nationwide Tracking Systems Bathurst 200. Of course, if you weren't able to take home the championship, this is the one that's almost a standalone championship all of its own. Yeah, it's the one that everybody wants to win. So the platform's yours. Who would you like to give the shout-outs to?
Just a big shout out to all the boys that are watching me tonight, supporting me, especially all the OPR boys with this beautiful paint that I'm running. I wish I could have ran a retro skin, but it doesn't matter. So big shout out to the OPR boys, and especially all the other boys watching me back at home, and hope I put on a good show.
Yeah,
And they did.
I believe you certainly did.
Do you guys know if I finished third in the championship? Because that was also a big push.
I believe so.
Oh,
You did.
That's a win too, I guess. Woo!
Well done.
Thanks, boys.
All right, so that was your race winner, Tyson McAvoy. Very, very happy man, as you would expect. And what we might do now is move to our series champion, James Rewalt.
Oh, good James up here.
Yeah, James is up here. James.
You're guilty.
Congratulations. Matt, I might let you handle this one.
James, I might just talk about the race first, and we'll talk about your championship, mate. I don't even know where to start. It looked like you were cruising in third early on, had a bit of an error, went behind Daniel. You sat behind him the whole race, and then the whole race imploded. Do you want to talk us through that?
Yeah, basically, the first stint was great. I had my little gap. I was just cruising, settling in. Yeah, like you said, made a little mistake, jumped in behind Daniel, but it was quite handy because I saved a bucket load of fuel, which made the last stop a bit easier. But yeah, what happened at the end there? Holy moly.
Yeah, well, talk us through a bit of that, because I think there was a moment there where it looked like you were going to take the lead of the race, and you had a bit of a tangle there with Heddershine.
Yeah, got a run on him down Conrod. Yeah, obviously just tried to push for the lead, and I think there might have been a bit of net code involved there. But either way, lucky enough, I was not too damaged and I could push on.
Yeah, I was a bit worried about that, because if you had have had sustained damage, that would have basically ended your championship, mate. Brody Scott would have taken that, so you were quite lucky not to have too much damage. But in the end, you came through, mate, and you are the inaugural winner of the ABRUZZI Super Sprint V8 Supercar Championship.
Thank you very much. It was a nervous day. I was really wanting to get it done tonight, so it's really awesome. Thanks to everyone who's putting it on.
Yeah, no worries. Some amazing prizes in there. Before we let you go, mate, as champion with a number 1 on your car, if you decide to take it, mate, who do you want to give some shout outs to?
Yeah, big shout out to Pace Syndicate, Worm Paints for the amazing paint job tonight. I reckon that's what got it done. Sorry to Kyle for busting it up there at the end.
It didn't look too good.
If you think about the history of that paint job, it has had a bit of biff and barge itself, so I think you might have done it proud.
Yeah,
for sure.
Fantastic job, James. Congratulations on the championship again. You're a deserved winner. You've driven beautifully all championship long, and enjoy it, mate. Enjoy the victory.
Thanks, boys. Beers later.
Yeah, that's right. See you, mate.
All right, that was James Rewalt, your champion for the season. So fantastic effort from him, and I'm sure all the Pace Syndicate boys are going to be very, very happy with that indeed. So we move now to Daniel Hedderscheid, second place in the race tonight, and he was just about everywhere. He was fourth, he was second, he was third, he was first, he was second again, and just part of probably certainly the greatest show that we've seen all season long. Daniel Hedderscheid, talk us through some of that, how it unfolded from your perspective.
Yeah, I don't really know what to say. That was with a very crazy ending. A very crazy ending.
So I guess from your perspective, I mean, you spent some of the race running there in fourth position, made your way up to third, and then at one point you found yourself leading it. Talk us through that, and I guess what your approach was to try and at least keep the lead.
Yeah, I knew James had newer tyres on than me, so he was catching, and I had noticed that he'd been faster in the second stint, and in that I could see him catching me. I thought if I could keep it clean, I could probably defend him. And then, obviously it all went down once he caught me. I made a couple little mistakes, and obviously he got the run on me. Went side by side, and they're coming together.
Yeah, certainly. So, recovering from that all the way back to second, you've got to be pleased. I think you've been one of the more consistent guys throughout this championship. Always been, it's hard to think of a round where you weren't somewhere that was sort of central to the action of the day. So you've done an incredibly good job all season long. So congratulations for that. And certainly congratulations for your result tonight, because I think it was well-deserved second place. Is there anyone you'd like to give a shout out to before we let you go and have a well-earned drink, I think?
Yeah, once again, a big shout out to Symfinity and the 111 boys. You guys too, you've done an amazing job. Everyone that's run this series, it's been a real well put together series. I know it's definitely improved my driving insanely. And all the competitors, James, we've had some great races. Brody, Tyson, well done for tonight. And everyone really that was involved.
Well, 111 boys, this is your boy tonight. He's done a fantastic job for you, and well pleased with second place and his efforts over the season, as well he might be. Daniel Hedderscheid, second place, everyone. So what we might do now is just, there's nothing really left to say. We've got a champion, we had a race winner, we've had a cracking race, Matt. Yeah, I guess it's final thoughts time, isn't it?
Well, I mean, that's the end of 12 races in this championship, and what a journey it's been, from some pretty wild races to begin with to a scenario where we had drivers improving so quickly that it actually turned into an amazing championship, great battles, and the pace is absolutely red hot. So as Daniel just said, he's improved a lot, and so have all the drivers. I've enjoyed it. It's good to see a deserved champion come out on top, and it's great to see probably the most entertaining race of the season to finish us off this evening. I've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed each Tuesday night calling the shots and calling along. And as Daniel said, I'd like to thank JP, yourself, Ed, Dave, who normally joins us, and the guys in race control for all their work they've done for this championship.
Yeah, certainly a sentiment echoed by myself as well. We've seen a little bit of everything this season, haven't we? There's been some great racing, some great competition. There's been carnage. There's been controversy. and it's finished up with a brilliant race to just, I guess, leave everybody feeling really good about the season as a whole, and also the future of the series as well. So I think it's been brilliant. Now we do have one small matter to finish off as well.
Oh.
Would you like to take a
Oh, the
guess?
final trivia.
Would you like to take a guess about why Hell Corner is called Hell Corner?
Ah, because of all the accidents that have happened there at the start of the race.
Not quite.
Oh,
Not
there you
quite.
go. I've got another one wrong.
So Hell Corner was so named because there used to be a tree stump. They'd cut the tree down, but there was a big tree
yes,
stump on the apex of the turn. And motorcycle riders used to know that if they hit that, they were in a lot of trouble. And the way in which they used to describe it was that if you hit that you would be killed, obviously, and you would wind up in hell for wasting your life via folly.
Well, there you go.
So that's the story behind Hell Corner. But in any event, so I guess that brings us to the end.
The end, mate. Yeah. It's sad, but thank you, Ed. It's been a pleasure.
Yes, absolutely, Matt. Thank you for joining us along this journey over the last 12 weeks. Of course, thanks to JP Courier for putting all of this together. Faithful man behind the camera, as always. And also the man sort of calling the shots, the driving force behind the series. So all the drivers, teams, competitors, and of course yourselves, the viewers as well. I hope you enjoyed tonight. If you didn't enjoy tonight, I don't know what to tell you because it doesn't get any better than that. So yeah, fantastic. I hope everybody enjoyed it. Thank you very much for joining us, and hopefully everybody joins in again for season 2 coming up in not too distant future, I believe. But in any event, we're pretty well done here. So thank you very much for joining us again, and good night.